What's up, gamers? Another episode of TCP coming at you. 239. My goodness, it's actually a really good week, guys. It's such a great week in Overwatch. It's just a great week in general. I think we've been waiting for so long for more news. I feel like we've been with this franchise for such a long time, waiting for some good news, waiting to find out what's happening with the sequel. And to finally have something come through is just a breath of fresh air, and it was really good. What we got, it wasn't very long, but it was very, very good. Of course, I'm talking about the Diablo 4 gameplay trailer that just came out. Dude,
True.
it's got me hyped for the sequel for Diablo 4. It's what we've been waiting for this entire time, and it does look good. Like it's dark and gritty, which we already got, but we had some more details about like what the actual gameplay is. Open world. There's a giant goblin boss. Is it a goblin? I don't know.
It looked like a goblin.
Like the mother of all treasure goblins kind of feel. And yeah, like pretty good. And best of all is it might not be pay to win, but I don't know. It probably won't be. I hope it won't be. It's probably not because it's an actual paid title. But it's what we need. It's good. I'm looking forward. Aren't you guys excited? I'm excited. I'm genuinely actually kind of keen for it. I play Diablo, so I'm down for it.
Yeah, I'd be, definitely interested in picking it up, trying it. Kind of grew up on a lot of those, OG Blizzard games, so definitely, interested. Among other things, that has been exciting these last couple days. Just general excitement all around for the most part.
I mean, we've been having excitement in the last few minutes. Even with the excitements have been piling up minute by minute.
It's true.
Here at TCP, things have been developing as we speak, as we prep. So
developing, I like that term. That's a good term. I like that. It's
a developing story.
It's accurate.
Stories have been developing. Have they not? I think that's pretty accurate.
That I
can say.
I am not. No sarcasm detected.
I'm developing high blood pressure as we speak.
I think we all certainly developing. I think we all do. That's just age, man. I think we all do, as with age.
Some faster than others.
Under control now.
So you probably looked at the title of this episode, and you probably looked at the sidebar, and you're thinking, where's the Overwatch 2 news? Why aren't they talking about Overwatch 2? We're going to be doing a special episode on Overwatch 2 in the coming days when the proper announcement comes out, like the full big thing comes out, the big reveal stream. Probably makes more sense to talk about it once that happens, because right now, which is this recording is being done before the major live reveal stream is happening, we'd just be speculating anyway, so it'd be kind of pointless when we'd be doing that and then the real thing comes out. It's like, well, what was the point of speculating when we could just wait for the real thing? So we're going to do that. We're going to talk about Midseason Madness this episode, preview week 1 NA, cover a few news bits and pieces with different signings coming on in. So our first round of mid-season signings and moves. When I say moves, some players shuffling their position on teams, maybe being removed from teams or leaving teams, etc., things like that. So already getting some decent traction in terms of how things are moving along in that regard. And then we'll also be talking about the upcoming international tournament as well, as there have been some discussion about formats and whatnot, and a bit of meta discussion as well from yours truly on that topic. So yeah, cool. Yiska, your final thoughts on Diablo before we move on?
Can someone
legitimate topic.
Send me something that fills my 110k hole that Diablo has left in my bank account this week? Thank you.
The thing I'm most surprised about is that you had enough money to spend that much.
Mortgage of my parents. No.
I'm debating whether I want to. I'm not going to talk about it on this podcast, but I'm debating whether I want to personally, through my own content streams, do some sort of content on Diablo Immortal. Not the typical like, oh, this sucks and I'm going to shit on it kind of deal, but more of I have legitimately played this game nonstop for the past week, and I feel like I have a very good grasp on what the real issues are. Before anyone says like, oh, pay to win, like, yeah, obviously, but I feel like there's way more issues than that people are not aware of, that are actually, to me, are the real issues. So, and here's the one thing that
Are you which Paragon level are you? Just to get an
I'm
idea.
21.
Okay.
21.
Right, makes it. Yeah.
Which is pretty end game. Like the end game now is well, anything in Paragon is end game technically. If you're on hell difficulty, which is above normal, which is Paragon, you're in the end game technically speaking.
Yep.
But the highest levels obtainable currently on any server, as far as I'm aware, is probably around Paragon 40. Likely no one is above Paragon 40 because the server levels. So each server you play on has a level as well, which is not quite the average, but the server level is basically the age of the server. It increases by 2 every day, and you realistically cannot level beyond the server level.
Right.
You can, but your leveling XP progress is extremely restricted past the server level, and that's to make sure that you're not leveling too far ahead of other people, I guess. But the unintended or maybe intended gameplay effect is that it means you've got nothing to do because you essentially can't level up, and you've already got all the gear you need. The only thing you can do is get to the next difficulty, but you can't do that because it's gated behind your level. And if you can't level up, you're not going to reach the difficulty. And if you can't level up, and you can't get new gear, then what is it that you were doing in this game? Nothing.
Yeah. I feel like I'm about to hit that wall. I'm like Paragon 6 now.
So the thing is, I don't even care about the pay to win. I legitimately don't. And that sounds like, I know that sounds sacrilegious.
Yeah.
The reason I don't care about it is because I will never be a whale myself. Fingers crossed, touch wood. And also, I will never interact with whales in the game in a meaningful way. I don't care about the PvP in this game. It's not. I don't play this game for PvP, so I don't give a fuck about that. So for me, this whole pay to win thing might as well just be like, for me, it's like hearing about guns in the United States. I don't have guns in Australia. It's like complete. It's so detached to me. It makes no difference to my life. I feel bad about it. I wish there were no guns in America because I know what living without guns feels like. That's how I just lived. That's how the rest of the world has lived, you know. So to me, it's like pay to win in Wales makes no difference to me because to me it's just a fantasy. Like it's just a complete thing I hear about in the news that has no impact on my life. So anyway, not that I'm not that probably sounded more cold than it needed to be. More so, that's why I have to clarify. Like obviously, the preference would be that that's not a thing.
Yeah.
And and sure, I'll plant my flag in the ground. Like, yeah, I enjoy not having gun violence in my around in the countries that I've lived in. So, it would be nice if America could also have that. But my point is, didn't want to drag in that direction, but I felt like it was an analogy. But then I kind of felt like maybe I shouldn't have made it, but it's too late. I did it, so here we are. So just trying to dig myself out of the hole, even though it shouldn't really be a hole because it should be like I think most people should agree. I don't know. Anyway, I'm digging myself further in a hole that I said I dig myself out of.
There's a low against Heide Coupler position.
We're gonna move past. We're gonna move past it. We're gonna move past it. It doesn't matter. We're gonna move past it. So yeah. Anyway, the game's just got no content. If you dropped 100,000, whether you've dropped $0 or $100,000, you are playing the same no content. There's still nothing to do, no matter how much money you dropped. So I actually feel bad for the whales. I feel bad for them because you've put money into something. Usually, there's two. This was something I explained to Joe. There's two levels of feeling bad for pay to win in Wales. The first level is, oh my god, you're stupid. You paid money for pixels. And the second level is, not only did you pay for pixels, but also there's nothing to show off that. There's nothing to do to justify that. Like there's no enjoyment to be had because at least if you're super rich and you're someone that buys yachts and fleets of supercars, it's like, I can't fault it. You enjoy what you enjoy. Maybe you just buy copious amounts of drugs. You enjoy what you enjoy. You probably shouldn't do that, but you enjoy what you enjoy. And at least if you're spending money and you're getting enjoyment, hey, your money, right? But in a game like Diablo, if you spend a fuck ton of money, there's actually nothing to do because you're still level gated. The amount of legendary drops you get per day is still gated. Like that's hard capped. So what are you doing? There's no gameplay. Yeah. So it's not only have you paid money for pixels, which in and of itself is debatable whether people should be doing that, but whatever, your money. But you can't even enjoy the fact that you paid for pixels because there's nothing to do. Now I'm saying that as someone that's Paragon fucking 21. So, and I've played I've played enough of this game to know what I'm talking about. Anyway,
I used to play like a browser game. It's some Dragons of Atlantis or something. That's like 10 years ago, and like I just like
sounds pretty gotcha.
We were like coordinating like raids, and then overnight, someone just destroyed my entire shit. Right. And
sounds
I'm
like Rust.
Oh, this is this is bad. I don't know. I don't think I can keep playing, guys. Like, it was fun hanging around. And one of the guys just goes, I'm just going to level this server. So it turns out he was like a major producer at a Hollywood studio. And he just dropped a soft 25k on the server. And there was a gameplay mechanic where you could buy a dragon and you could not defend against it. There was nothing you could do. If someone spent, they were going to take over the server. Now, 25k wasn't enough to wipe the entire server, but it was enough to wipe the entire opposing guild. It was the most bullshit thing ever. Dude, I just pity, like, puppy-eyed someone into dropping hot 25k onto someone else's cities, and it ruined the fun for the entire server. In terms of, like, the first guild was just done, was just over. I'm
just glad Diablo 4, fingers crossed, is not going to be like Rust, right? Where you can destroy someone else's shit. And I don't know. Maybe it will be. That being said, people should be. The only thing I don't like about the internet right now is how much, like, transitive property is not the right word, phrase at all to describe this, but like trying to come out and say like, oh yeah, Diablo 4 is going to be pay to win because Diablo Immortal is, I think it's a fucking brain dead statement to make, because you're just transferring guilt from one thing to the other that doesn't apply at all. I don't know. It's like saying like, oh, well, your brother murdered someone, so you probably will too. Like, it's what? Doesn't make any sense, right? It's like, how does that relate? I don't know. Oh, but it's a Blizzard game. It's like, yeah, so I mean, like, they're made by different. They're not made by the same people within Blizzard. They're made by completely different teams for a completely different audience with different goals in mind, with a different monetization model. Like, come on. And I'll eat my fucking shoe. I will fully eat my shoe if Diablo 4 has pay to win. But
to be fair, right?
Instinct is that it won't. It probably will have some shitty microtransactions. It will probably charge you a lot to pay for a battle pass and pay for skins and whatnot. It'll probably have a bunch of microtransactions that feel like, I don't know, bullshit. But I heavily doubt they'll be pay to win. There might be some. Here's the only part where I'll flub that debate, is to say that, like, they might test the waters with some like pay for advantage type deal, but there won't be any direct like drop money here and your character will be stronger.
Right. Yeah.
In my opinion,
if you think back how Diablo 3 launched, technically speaking, that really was pay to win or pay to advantage but an extreme case with the auction house, right?
Yeah, kind of. I guess you could argue that, but it wasn't like. I guess it's not the same, but the difference between that, I think the difference between, here's what you have to get to the end of, because there's two, I don't know, we're getting way too deep into this, guys. Right. This is meant to be an Overwatch podcast, but at this point, I'm committed. So I'm only going to talk about this and then nothing else, and then I'm going to get Joe to talk about this for 10 minutes, and then that'll probably be the whole podcast, and then we can, we can move on to the Overwatch podcast tomorrow. But like, to really judge these games, you have to judge like, where's the design foundation coming from? Because when you look at something like Immortal, everything in the game is built around the fact that the position is that you are paying to win. So everything is built from the ground up to support that. Meaning, like, what the game gives you is very low. You are not getting a lot of progression. The progression you get as a free-to-play player is much slower, by magnitudes, than a person paying, and that's built by design. I play Diablo 3. I kill things, loot explodes, especially if I'm geared. If I'm playing Paragon in Diablo 3, I'm getting legendaries. It's not slow. I do events and I do things in Diablo Immortal. I play a session of like 5 hours. I might get 1 legendary. Right? It's bad. So maybe I'm unlucky. Maybe I get 2. But you're still server capped to like X amount per day on activities. You kill like 5 purple bosses and you don't get anything, and they only give you like yellows. And yellow's even hard to come by, and I'm fucking Paragon 21. I'm like only 10. I'm only 9 levels below server level. So the difference of why that is different from than just like, oh, but you can do things to like real money auction house. Oh, but you can do things to potentially increase strength by paying. But the game wasn't. The game still is functionally about like everyone's still having the same experience otherwise. I don't know if I'm explaining this properly. The game isn't built around that in mind. Although maybe that's not a great argument for the real money auction house, but like, I don't know if I'm getting my point across properly. Basically, the game isn't like the game. The point of the game isn't a pay to win game. The point of the game is still how the gameplay is itself, and it just so happens to have a real money auction house. Versus, no, the entire game is just pay to win. Like the whole entire game is a thing that you put money into, and it happens to have a game attached to it, rather than it is a game that happens to have a paid thing attached to it. Does that make sense? Like one comes before the other kind of deal.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yep. Yeah. I mean, I'm looking forward to Diablo 4 more so than. But I will say I was surprised to enjoy. Like I'm playing it on my iPad. It's actually quite chill. Actually, he was right. I do have a phone, and I enjoy playing on a mobile device.
You know what they shouldn't have done? They should not have released this with PC. The backlash would have not been nearly as strong if they just released this literally for mobile only. Because then you could literally just say, "Oh no, but it is a mobile. It is a gacha mobile game," and you could literally just say that.
Yeah,
and and people will still be angry, but they can be like, "Yeah, but I guess they're right. It's just a gacha mobile game, right?" Joe's left. Joe, UK.
Just season.
He's disappeared. All right, Joe, spend 10 minutes talking about your position to this before we actually spend 20 minutes. Actually, I'm feeling generous.
I say this with all the love and the grace in the world. I literally couldn't care less.
And with that, episode 239 is brought to you by Avril Vista Baby, Battlecrab, Refine Bean, Bronzebutt Brewhouse. Philadelphia is more of a stage 2 team anyway. Chris R34444, Cash 67, Lolshin, Pork Chop, Sammy, Rex, Volamel, Smooth Nuts, and your misery. It's okay because that's why timestamps exist. You know, you can just click on the timestamp and get to the part you want to be at, and hopefully this is the part you want to be at. No, we're not going to be talking about Overwatch 2 today because again, we're saving that for a special episode coming in the next couple days. So instead, we're going to be talking about everything else, and everything else is. Let's start with player acquisitions, because that was probably the hot topic.
Sure.
We had one, when we say developing, there's one developing as we speak right now. We can probably get into it because I don't know if it can really develop further than it already has, or actually it might because the league could come out and say something. But within the last few hours even, it has been reported and then announced that Marvel is joining the LA Valiant. But not under normal circumstances. Marvel is joining the LA Valiant through what is reported by Halo and Dexerto as players on the team contributing to Marvel's salary to be able to pay for him to get on a 30-day contract. Meaning that the team itself, from what we can gather, the team being LA Valiant and by extension IGC or LGE, the management portion behind it, they are not the ones funding Marvel's acquisition. It sounds like the players on the LA Valiant, the current team of the LA Valiant, not the organization, but the team members are paying for Marvel's acquisition for 30 days. Is what it sounds like.
Yeah, it's kind of weird. That's a little bizarre. I know we kind of talked about it prior to the show. As like Avril said, it's definitely been ongoing, developing as we've kind of spooled up into this. Obviously on paper, in terms of skill, you know, they've been needing a tank, and I think coming into this meta, they're probably gonna have a lot of positive benefit from having somebody to fill out Sashin's hero pool. I think a lot of the issue here has nothing to do with skill, and it's everything to do about how the league reacts to this and whether or not you should even be allowed to do this. It is very weird. I'll say that. Very odd.
Yeah, I think there are different positions to take here. I guess let's say the first one. I think in terms of level of play, slots pretty well into the Valiant overall quality. I was never really a big fan of Marvel. I feel like he's generally a little bit overhyped.
Who's hyping him? What do you mean overhyped?
People were like, "Oh yeah, that's the dude that played like both roles, and like, oh, this."
They memed him for that. What do you mean they memed him for that?
Yeah.
They that was like a joke.
Okay.
Who was hyped over that?
Yeah, maybe I'm misinterpreting. Fair. I think it's one that they need. I don't think it's super astronomically mega good for them. It's also just a 30-day, and if we know anything about 30 days in this league, they might sometimes be announced to not be extended after 60 days or 45 days, I guess. Vulcan.
We'll get to that. Hey, don't jump ahead. We'll get to that.
But so the second take is, I feel like at some point you gotta cut some fat, my dude. Like, we haven't seen shit of the some of the DPS players. You don't need that many DPS players. You already have a sizable amount of assistant coaches. You gotta either explain to us why those are value creating, or you gotta cut some. What's it? There's a writing term. Do you know it, Joe? Like, kill your darlings? Yeah.
Yeah.
You just gotta sometimes get rid of something, like, in order to make a good thing, right? Via subtraction, right?
And we've seen this across the league with Mirror and Naga. Like, this screams like, some mismanagement. I don't think that, the team in general gets to get off scot-free by the goodwill of the players. Yeah, this whole thing is very, very...
Yeah. And then, I mean, yeah, despite like the whole Via Negativa thing, I feel like... So, okay, what are we talking about here with the 30-day? So the way I understand 30 days to work is 30 days get annualized salaries of whatever height they deem. I think we had an announcement of an increase of the minimum salary. Still, like, there's some inaccuracies of a couple of dollars, but it will come down to about $4,200 for a 30-day contract at the minimum, right? And then Marvel might have negotiated a higher price point, right? But that's the bare minimum. I would expect it's not far off the minimum. So then, like, according to Halo, that didn't trigger a restructuring of all those players' contracts, which makes sense because I expect a lot of them to be at minimum salary, and to subtract from their minimum salary would now be not something that you're allowed to do by the league, right? Despite the fact that restructuring all those contracts, just the administrative pay is probably, or like what it takes to get that all in legal writing, is probably exceeding the salary that Marvel is getting. So therefore, it's just they have their salary post-tax. They're already paying out of pocket for a lot of stuff that other teams get for granted or get from the organization. So these are minimum salary players. Those are players that some of them have been signed in a way where, and that this is not 100%, not every organization does it this way, but salaries are annualized, meaning if you get signed in shortly before the season, and your contract by Overwatch League standards only goes until, I believe it's end of November, but some point very shortly after the season's over, then you're only being paid for the duration of those months. So let's say you're employed for 9 months. That means 50,700 according to Eric is the new minimum salary, times 3/4 or 9/12 if you want, like 9 months of the 12th, and that's now your new minimum salary, right?
Right.
So we're already in a position where some of those players that have been signed will probably just be making, 37,000 or whatever. So now you're asking these players post-tax, I'm not sure what that would be in China, but like to give up some of their salary, including the coaches as well, in order to finance this situation. And I'm sorry that feels like an unacceptable situation for me, for people that are already not making a lot of money. So, yeah.
My biggest question is, how long can they keep this up? Because it's 30 days, and then what? Do they just get rid of Marvel? Is he gone? Like, what if he does well? What if they're winning with him? Do they sign him for another 30 days? Does everyone pay out of pocket again for another 30 days, and then what?
Yeah.
Does he leave after 60 days? Or do you sign him for 90 days? How long does this go on to? What if you want to sign him for the rest of the season? Does everyone now just pay him $50,000 or what? Do you know what I mean? Like, where does the buck stop? Because
it makes
it's
for,
weird.
For a weird situation, because imagine like you decide that you need Marvel and you now need to move salary around by firing someone. Are you going to fire someone that just paid you part of their salary in order to finance the person that they're replacing?
Well,
this is some draconian shit. That's like some
morally,
gladiator
I think
shit.
ethically, I'm a reasonable person, but I think ethically you would pay that person back the money that they paid to get Marvel on.
Yeah.
At a minimum. Ethically, that should be what is done. But I don't operate the team. I'm just saying what I think should be happening. But here's the state of the LA Valiant. They currently have 9 official players, including Marvel, that have been announced. But they have 10 players rumored, because Molly is rumored to be on this team as well.
Right.
Remember,
Right. Yeah.
reported by Halo, who, as far as like player signings this season has gone, he's been pretty accurate on. So I'm willing to. And he reported Marvel. Marvel instantly got announced. Molly hasn't been announced yet. Maybe there's still some stuff happening behind the scenes between Valiant and the Charge to get that sorted. Molly recently released by the Charge anyway. Still don't know in terms of how that. Did we talk about this last episode? Still don't know how in terms of the structuring of that goes. Whether Valiant bought Molly out of his contract in terms of buying him, the illegal buyout, or whether Charge released him from his contract, terminated the contract, he became a free agent, and then Valiant picked him up. Right? Which one was it? Because free agency means Guangzhou lose a lot of money.
Right.
Whereas buyout means Guangzhou at least recouped some money from trading Molly off. That also means Valiant fucking paid for him. Right. So in either case, if they're paying something, they're either paying for Molly plus buyout or just Molly, if he is being acquired. And it sounds like he is. So, and because Molly, that deal was done before Marvel, that's why likely there was no money left for Marvel, because they had maxed out their budget, if I was to speculate. But this is a team that already has now 10 players. It's like, shit, most teams don't have anywhere near that. Like, some of the teams that have historically spent the most money, and still do, by the way, on their rosters, have extremely high salary players, only have 6 people on their roster. I'm talking about Fusion, talking about Shock. Very lean rosters. But you have veteran players like, Violet plus Carpe. Proper's obviously on a reasonable salary, as you would expect. So it's not like those orgs are poor and they're not paying people. They're paying people quite well, but even they're choosing to have lean rosters. We have Valiant on 10 players. So it would make more sense, as we've already discussed, that one of the DPSs probably needs to go, because no team needs 5 DPSs. You don't even need 4, let alone 5. So if you were to reallocate one of your DPS players' budget towards Marvel, that makes a lot more sense. But they haven't done that yet. I don't know if they will do that. And if they do that, then they need to pay back the players that put their own fucking money in to pay for Marvel. Like, that should be more like a loan, not like a payment. Mm-hmm. It should never be the player's responsibility to be paying another person's salary. That should never be the case. But it sounds like to me that the team is desperate to have another tank on board. Mm-hmm. So there's two things here. One is that, yes, this whole situation is kind of fucked up, and that somebody between the Valiant team here or Immortals or LGE, most likely, it's probably more so. I don't know. It could be. I at this point, I assume Immortals just don't do anything. At this point, I assume Immortals are super hands off. But somewhere between LGE and the Valiant team, something went wrong in terms of how they handle their money. And unfortunately, I have to point this back at No Hill a little bit. I've been celebrating him, but I'm also, fair is fair. I got to criticize him here, because this man built a now 10-man roster with half of it is just DPS players. What are you doing? Clearly the team, whether that's between No Hill and the players or just the players, want a second tank with a main tank hero pool on this team. That is a clear desire. So why is it that they signed only 1 tank player but 5 DPSs if there was a clear desire to have a second tank? Because this whole situation with players putting in their own money for Marvel could have been avoided had they just not signed a 5th DPS player or even a 4th one and put their money towards a tank player instead. Very simple, right?
Yep. I think best course, best practices, I guess, would be to see somebody like Hacker, whoever, probably get cut. Hate to name names, but not somebody that instills a lot of faith or seems to provide.
My guy
a lot of
Joe in the
value.
locker room. My guy Joe in the locker room is already pointing fingers. He's like that guy.
I mean, everybody else, Innovation, Becky, just from the DPS like stable, like everybody's seeing playtime, but
Just
the
making fun of you.
weird Sombra.
Just making
No,
fun of you.
I know. But I mean, like explaining some of the history to people who might not be up to code with who he is. I mean, he was a Sombra one trick, a good player at the time for Sombra, but like not somebody who like seemingly has a foot in the door when it comes to this game. There's no transferable skill set. It seems like a project player. There really should be no reason, to kind of reiterate the guy's points here, why your players should be paying out of pocket if that's to be believed. Would we have no reason not to believe it? So like it's not good. It's very odd, and I hope the league has a stance on this because this is kind of fucked.
I've only got one charitable explanation. I've but one charitable explanation for how and why this has happened and what they are doing. And I might have already gone over this briefly already, and that is that they are just buying time to sort out the back end stuff to sign Marvel on officially while cutting somebody
Possibly.
and reallocating the resources. And the reason why they're not waiting for that and why the players just paying money now to get them on is so that they can get them in time to play officials straight away. So, and that's my only charitable explanation, because otherwise you'd cut a player, probably hack, and then bring Marvel on, like you said.
Yeah.
But it wouldn't surprise me if they do that anyway. You're probably about to see that happen. If they don't do that, then if they don't do that, no hills smoke and crack. Like they are doing things incorrectly if they're not doing this. If you want to bring Marvel on, somebody, probably Hacker, has got to go.
Yeah.
Or maybe even Colders, because Molly's coming.
Sure.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I have no idea, but probably Hacker, because fuck you. You might want 2 flex DPSs. You don't want 5 DPSs, generally speaking. Sorry, flex supports. Who am I kidding? They're basically DPS. Flex supports, but you don't need 5 DPSs. So probably Hacker's gone, because the other 4 have had playtime and seem to have, like you said, a reason to be on this team or a role to play.
Yep.
So yeah, the only way I can explain it is that will be happening anyway, but the players they're just loaning the team for now to get them in, and then the team will pay them back. Right? That's got to be. If I'm coping extremely hard, that's the only way I can look at it positively.
Mm-hmm.
Cool.
Yeah.
All right.
Weird situation. Probably will set a precedent, hopefully, for the league moving forward.
Final thoughts, really quickly.
Look at that.
Do we feel anything about this team in terms of roster quality with Marvel on? I mean, I felt like they were doing reasonably well with Sashin anyway, but they were in the middle of a big Zarya meta, so they kind of got bailed out by the fact that they're playing in a Zarya meta. And Hill's probably like, thank God, because if we weren't in a Zarya meta, who the hell knows what Valiant would have been doing?
Mm-hmm. No, this should improve things. Yeah, no, I agree. Like, Marvel probably doesn't leap off the page in terms of just like main tank prowess, but the ability to actually like play that at a reasonable skill level, at least maybe league average or league minimum, should be a benefit.
Cool. Alrighty. Yiska wants to talk about Vulcan. Go ahead, lad. Lead the way. Tell us about Vulcan.
I mean, there's not too much to say. I think the one thing that was a little bit left a bad taste in my mouth was, I'm pretty sure Vulcan's 30-day ended at the end of May, like 30 or 31st.
Okay.
And to only have the announcement now is, no,
it took them 2 weeks to make the graphic. That's all it is.
Yeah, and I appreciate like this. This is a tough situation for everyone because visa situations are once again like very hard to figure out. And realistically, like just from the messaging, I think everyone understood that like Vulcan as a player was really just like someone to stand in if Callan couldn't make it, right?
Yep.
So from that point of view, I never actually thought, like, for instance, I don't understand the outrage about him now being let go. I think it could have been done in a more tasteful manner, but it's whatever, really.
I can explain it.
Yeah, go on.
The outrage isn't that they've let go of Vulcan. The outrage is that they had to do this whole 30-thing day with Vulcan anyway to fill the roster, when the team's responsibility should have been to fill the 6-man roster while they were in Korea. That's the outrage, if I'm reading correctly. If anyone's actually outraged about Vulcan being dropped, then they're not looking
they're
at this correctly.
delusional.
That's kind of weird if they're doing that. But the real outrage is that I agree with is that the team has mismanaged roster building, and now they're stuck in North America with nowhere to get a Korean player, or at least no way to get them in time.
I think a lot of the very general themes of why the Valiant dilemma is a management issue, not necessarily a league structure or even
You mean New York? You said Valiant.
No, I'm comparing the two.
Okay.
Yeah. I look at Valiant and I say this is the players probably shouldn't even be allowed to do this. There really should never be a question of consent. This should be a question of the management making hard and difficult choices. That's unfortunately what the job requires sometimes. And I look at the New York Excelsior and I've been pretty upset with them from the season start. Call me biased because of how I expected this team to look by the end of it. But regardless, this is a pretty mismanaged team. When you have a scapegoat effectively, when you have a coach that's apparently been signed per the NYXL website, in Kuki being listed as a player, not a coach, to try to skirt around the 6-player minimum. It leaves a sour taste in my mouth because it really doesn't feel like this was approached with much care, or somehow, some way, the books were so mismanaged that now the team is having to bite the bullet on some confounded off-season moves that were made by this org, and I think it's kind of a travesty. Both are bad, but NYXL I think is slipping under the radar a lot more than I would like it to. So yeah, not good.
Well,
no
I think NYXL they have a much better fan goodwill. That, well, let's be clear, the rope on that is burning very quickly, but they at least have it. Whereas Valiant burn, they have no.
For sure. I understand why, but it's not fair.
I put forward one thing.
Sure.
Gesture is now on the team as a coach. Is there a world where he could be a player?
I think most people would be lying if they boldface tell you they saw that announcement and didn't immediately autocorrect in their brain that this wasn't a player, right? When you look at that, you're like, we have signed Gesture. It's whoa, crazy. Okay, new tank. We're filling out the DPI, the roster a little bit. We're adding some depth. Cool, awesome. NYXL, is going up in the world. And now he's a tank. So I would guess there was probably a possibility. I believe he's in New York. He has the visa.
Yeah.
It seems easy enough.
Here's the thing. You can get Gesture there easier than anybody else.
Yeah.
So it makes the most sense that he would be your backup tank.
Yep.
Because who the hell else is it going to be? Is it going to be Kuki? Technically signed as a player, so I guess not impossible, but
yeah.
I think you'd probably at this stage rather have Gesture as someone that at least played last year. Kuki's been out of the game for so long that you have no idea what he's.
Yeah,
no. I don't know. What is he good enough? Who knows? But there's no other players available. I mean, the only other thing they could have done is get Marvel. And I remember saying ages ago. I remember saying when ITSOL got signed to Boston, I was oh yeah, this is because New York's trading. They're about to trade for Marvel. That's why ITSOL's here, because they're covering for Marvel going to New York Excelsior, clearly.
Yeah.
And now Marvel went back to Korea. Now he's on Valiant. So either New York didn't go for Marvel, or they did, but Marvel wasn't interested in staying in the United States anyway, which is why he left Boston. And it's hard to know. I still speculate that the real reason why Marvel got cut from Boston is because there's no reason for them to have 3 tank players, but it is also equally likely, and I can't, sometimes sometimes the team's doing some heavy PR, and sometimes they're just telling the truth.
Yeah.
And if they are just telling the truth, then Marvel didn't want to play on this team. He didn't want to be in the United States. He has personal issues. He wanted to go back to Korea. Makes sense. I believe that as equally as I believe that they because they don't need 3 tanks.
Right.
But also, you could argue that the reason they have 3 tanks is because they knew Marvel was leaving, so they signed Itzol because they knew he was leaving. Whereas if Marvel didn't leave, they would have kept him and didn't sign Itzol, right? That's also a reasonable belief to have. But in either case, if Marvel doesn't want to be in the States and he does have personal things he needs to sort out in Korea, then New York, we're not going to get him.
Yep.
Right. So that player's out of the picture. There's just no one. There's just you want to be a full Korean team in America where you want a free agent, you're going to have to be like Shock picking up mikeyy, which we'll talk about as well. You're going to have to be like that RuPaul guy as well, who I don't really know, but we'll talk about him as well. There's no Korean person you're going to get.
Nope, not for cheap and not in a timely fashion. That's why it really kind of, leans on this off-season fumble of what looks to be part 1 of a roster that won't ever see a sequel, right? Like it's sad because it doesn't feel like maybe it gets better. I don't know. It's just a tough pill to swallow for me with New York. Yeah. Sour grapes.
Yiska, New York. You started us on this. You can finish yourself on the Vulcan thing.
I mean, the Vulcan thing is whatever to me. I think the first couple of matches will probably give you an idea if they've figured it out or not. Because theoretically, dude, like the substance of this team, like we all agreed preseason that Kellen was probably one of the best tanks prospects, right? And we also agreed that Yaki is a good player. And I mean, that main support, like, I think they need to figure something out with support, which is why I was interested that Kareev was going to go to a coaching position. Because in my mind, if I go down the list of names that I can think of, who has an American visa, is here, and like is signable specifically in the flex support position, then Kareev is just about the only one you cannot come up with. So I thought like they were going to move for Kareev. Then again, I would imagine Mayhem wants to be paid there.
That's 3 flex supports, Yiska.
Yeah, but Gangnam Jim won't be playing flex support again, I don't think.
No. I think he's pretty much...
What do you mean? I don't get it. Why would you not try and go for him? I mean, you'd have to go for a main support. That'd be your first priority is probably to get a second tank. Your next priority is actually maybe your first priority is to get a main support. I changed my mind. Your first priority is to get a main support, but none is available. I don't think you get Kareev because if you get Kareev, he's just filling in for flex support anyway, which you already have. So if you need double flex support, Gangnam Jin just goes back to Ana or goes back to whatever he's playing. You don't play main support.
I don't think even Gangnam Jin at a good day is Overwatch League level anymore in flex support.
Really? I mean, he looked pretty damn Overwatch League level last year. It hasn't been that long, is it?
I already he was Overwatch League level. I think we leveled up big time since then. We lost some. Like we lost Violet to main support. We lost Jonak. But we also got a bunch of bangers.
We got the take of the week right there. That's the one that people are going to clip. Yiska. Headline Yiska. Gangnam Jin no longer Overwatch League level flex support. Boom, there it is.
I mean, he hasn't played the role in damn near like half a year now, right?
Yeah, but neither is Violet. But would we really say that about Violet as well?
No, but
I'm not trying to put words in your mouth. But like
Violet, like if you were to cut Violet's hand off, I would trust Violet to play a better flex support. Violet's decapitated hand to play a better flex support than Gangnam Jin. Violet has more talent in his pinky than Gangnam Jin at the peak of his career.
All right. I mean, that's it. I don't know whether I can agree or disagree. I'm actually undecided. I'm completely undecided. So I'm not gonna try and debate. I don't know if I really agree with it, but I also don't know if I care to disagree either. So I'm just gonna leave it is what I'll do. But it is a take.
I'll spin the take because I don't think this is a player skill issue. Like, yeah, I don't think Gangnam Jin has been fantastic.
You didn't bait me, but you have baited Joe. Go on.
Yeah, I don't think Gangnam Jin is a fantastic main support. I think the jury's out in terms of whether or not Byongbong has had a bad start to the season or whether or not he is just in a difficult position to play from, if that makes sense. It's a little bit more airy, it's a little bit more intangible, but I do look at the coaching staff in terms of like how they get these players on the same page, because it doesn't feel like things are connected. It doesn't feel like the player skill is necessarily coming through. Something about this team is disjointed. Something about this team is internally amiss. And I think that comes down to the management and the coaching staff to, figure that out, whatever it is. And I know that that's just like shooting in the dark at like 50 different things. But I really don't look at this roster and say, yes, it's because we don't have a main support that we are losing. Shucks, like we should have. It doesn't feel that way to me. I feel like they should be competitive within the bottom tier, and it doesn't really feel like it a lot of the time.
The sad, they shouldn't even be in the bottom tier, but
no, they shouldn't.
The thing that's really sad is like, again, without wanting to jump ahead too much, because we will be talking more about the meta as we move forward in topics today. But even if we were to get into double flex support meta, which I think is likely for next stage, Kellen would need to play Sigma. So you still don't have a person that's like, you're not hitting the perfect meta for this team.
Yeah.
Because I think in the preseason we described like, okay, this is a team that on the right meta could pop off, but on every other meta is going to bomb.
Yeah.
And they have been bombing. And the right meta is like, I guess, double flex support meta with, it would have to be Kellen on a main tank, but the problem is double flex support usually means Sigma double flex support, and that's not one of Kellen's heroes. So even on that, you're not quite hitting the mark on all players when that's what you want. So it's kind of rough. I don't know how things are going to go for New York moving forward, but they need to. Okay, final thing about New York.
Okay.
What are they going to do about this roster hole? Because now Vulcan's gone. Are they back to 5 players? Is Kuki officially their 6th player? Are they just going to leave it like that? Like, what are they supposed to do now?
If I'm going to be honest, I think it's hard to say what they will do. I think, like you mentioned previously, I think gesture is an option. I'd like them to facilitate maybe that option. Maybe pick him up, allow, some more depth at the tank position. Whether or not he even wants to do that is, up in the air, I suppose. But I think in more realistic terms, I think, we've seen them run with pretty much a 5 core with just a scapegoat or a player so they don't get fined. It feels like that's just going to be more of the same for the rest of the season.
So you don't think they will sign officially a 6th player?
I can't imagine them buying somebody out from a North American team. And
if somebody's selling, somebody would have to sell first as well.
Right. So I don't see them fronting the bill for a visa and waiting for that. That also doesn't seem like it's going to provide any value. I think it is what it is at this point, and we go next season. And that's why I am not entirely all that happy with New York. Another bad team because of whatever the fuck happened in the offseason.
Because here's one thing they could do. Gesture could just be a Jake from last year. He can be a player coach.
Ooh.
He can be what WooCal was supposed to be this year. Supposedly meant to be a player coach, but then they got Session. So I don't know if it's a good thing to be a player coach. Maybe if you talk to Jake, he'll probably say, no, actually wasn't good, which is why he's not one anymore. Even though, ironically, Houston does need a main support, and unironically, Jake was one last year, so that could have been a real thing. But if you are a player, it might be hard to coach at the same time. It's legitimate. There's a legitimate reason to not want to be a player coach. However, I think New York are out of options. I think they're desperate for options, and here is an option for them. And if they're not taking it, they better have a fucking better solution that I can't think of.
Yeah, no.
Because I don't think signing a North American tank is going to be that solution. Or North American anything. I don't think signing Juby or whoever on this team is going to be the solution, because I don't know that they want to or can make this a mixed team.
No,
I think this team pretty much has to be a full Korean team at this stage.
Yeah, that would do more harm than good.
I mean, they look like they have coordination issues even as a full Korean team, and imagine adding another language into that. That would destroy them. So,
it is not a player skill issue. Last on that.
Speaking of supports being signed, we already talked about Kareev. We already talked about, when we say talk, we already mentioned Kareev. Now we'll get into it.
Yes.
So about Florida Mayhem. Has been reported. So this is not 100% locked in just yet, but it has been reported that Kareev is moving from player to assistant coach. And with that, the Florida Mayhem will be signing a player from called Rupal from Redbird Esports. Now, I don't know who Rupal is, so if you just excuse me for a moment, I'll be right back.
It's sad because there is so much Overwatch that is in existence that it's tough to like really gauge or have a pulse on everything. From what I can decipher from some very short-handed remarks from people a little bit closer to the collegiate scene, it seems like one of the shortlist flex supports to be promoted. Like, makes a lot of sense to people close to the situation. But it seems just like another depth ad for Florida. Maybe they're just suspecting. Maybe this is another 30-day just to see what the meta looks like. If I'm going to be honest, the most interesting thing about this is that somebody from our community, shout out to Picasso, pretty much just said, called this verbatim ahead of time. Just kind of took a shot in the dark and said, oh yeah, I think he goes to Florida and I think Kareev retires, and was running with it, was very consistent with arguing it, and turns out pretty damn well close to hitting it square on the head. So, props to Picasso for shouting that one out. But yeah, outside of that, it's hard to judge whether or not this is going to be, an upgrade, a downgrade, whether it's going to be useful, because we really don't have a keen eye on the meta. We'll get to that in a few moments, but yeah, seems like a depth ad. I wouldn't be surprised if it's a 30-day. Yiska, go ahead.
Yeah, I'm not sure about the 30-dayness of it or whatever is happening there. I think if you think this is going to be a double flex support meta, like these types of signings just make sense at the moment, right?
Sure, but would that not message to you like, let's see what this looks like first? Let's temporarily, make an acquisition.
30 days is like the new trial process, right? Like, we'll trial you on 30 days and we'll see if we'll keep you or not. It's not the worst thing in the world.
Yeah, I mean, then maybe. I think a lot of teams also get away with trialing a player without paying them. You just want to be able to.
To be honest, this is more fair. This is more fair, right? At least
this is very fair. Yeah,
you're actually paying for a trial now, which is reasonable.
Yeah. I think this probably already communicates a little bit more intent, where it's like we want to be prepared if we have to play you, right?
Of course.
And yeah, I think like it's an interesting. Maybe you could read this as like a meta tell.
Yes, I would, because it says to me that they have an expectation, a reasonable enough expectation, that they're willing to put their money where their mouth is, which is to say, actually put money on the table to pay for somebody to be there for 30 days at minimum to potentially play double flex support. That's number one. Number two is that for some reason they just either Kareev doesn't want to, or they don't want Kareev, or it's a mutual thing. That Kareev isn't just going to do it. If they believe that there's not a big expectation for double flex support, they'd either they obviously just not sign anybody, and if it happens, Kareev will play. If it doesn't happen, nothing changes. Because I don't know Rupal that well, it's one of those things, guys. I just don't. I haven't really kept up with NA. Tier 2 is what it is. Kareev I can speak to in terms of this entire situation, and his side of the thing is really interesting because he was signed for two reasons. He was signed to cover Majid, who was having visa issues. It's taking Majid a very long time to get from Saudi Arabia to the United States. Secondly, Kareev was signed as then a backup for Majid if he couldn't play while he was in the States, and then third, for a double flex support meta. Now, I think it's very interesting and a little bit unfortunate that Kareev ends up going to coach, because to my knowledge, Mayhem they weren't necessarily in the market for another coach. They needed another flex support, and now with Kareev moving to a coaching role for whatever reason, they have to get another different guy when the ideal solution would be that Kareev is your backup flex. So you just play Kareev.
Yeah.
I think the guy has still got things to show gameplay wise. You know, I know Yiska just chewed out Gangnam Jin for his flex support, so I wouldn't want to know what he thinks about Kareev. But
oh yeah, you don't want to know.
It's nothing good. We've historically.
But my point is like Mayhem's situation looking for a second flex support. I mean, they were considering contenders tier 2 flex supports from Korea, not just guys like Kareev.
Yeah.
Obviously, Kareev was available, so they got him.
Little known fact, Kareev has actually been retired for 2 seasons and actually is the first player to be awarded a Role Star while retired.
That's crazy.
Was he actually?
No.
Based on 2 sleep dots, yeah. And then for the rest of the season, he was retired.
Oh, what season is that?
Season 3, right?
Was he really?
So. Yeah.
Was he retired in season 3?
I mean,
he's
didn't play Overwatch.
He's arguing effectively. He sowed a couple. He had a couple of good moments, and then, yeah, I think it was season 2 or season 3. Yeah.
Bro, and Prophet has still never had a Role Star, by the way. So clearly, because the Mayhem were also looking at tier 2 players in Korea to be the secondary flex support, to be Majid's backup, they're not looking for someone that was just going to end up being a coach. They're looking for a person, and because they've signed Rupal, they're clearly looking for a person to be a mainstay or a potential mainstay on the roster to actually be there to cover the second flex support. So this whole Kareev coaching thing is so weird because it's also an extra financial strain on the org that we know already that Mayhem is not the richest org this year. They don't have the biggest budget.
They have 10 million coaches now.
But they've consistently signed more and more and more and more people. I don't know. Maybe they're finding more money. Maybe they're stretching their budget thinner. Maybe. I
mean, Adam is effectively coach, right?
I guess, yeah. So their coaching staff is now Gumba McGravy, Adam Kareev. That's their coaching staff currently.
Yeah.
Pretty much.
Yeah. It's the biggest coaching staff in the Overwatch League, lol.
Yeah. On what is, I don't know if I want to call them a budget team, but what is effectively a team that doesn't have the largest budget. That's not a secret either. That's just, it's what it is. So this whole Kareev thing is just so weird to me because I would have imagined, like, if Kareev doesn't want to play, you just let him go. You know, reallocate his budget. But now they've reallocated his budget from being a player to a coach. So it's just like, what? What's going on? I'd almost be a little bit pissed because Kareev is meant to be your player. Now you're having to pay him to be a coach. He's probably a smart person. You'll get some good value out of him for coaching, but that's not what you signed him for. That's not what the priority was. So you probably feel a little bit weird about it. You'd probably be like, what? Now we have to sign another person? Like,
It is a little weird. We'll see what this looks like, though. I don't know.
Does anyone here have any insight? As I was just gone for a minute, did we talk about any insight on Rupal's ability or gameplay? Do we expect much?
No, yeah.
Just kind of reiterating some of what the collegiate folks have messaged to me. Good enough. Aren't surprised that he's being promoted. Seems like he's on the short list of people that were maybe slated to get promoted or trialed.
By the way.
So.
Third time Luke Mino has been shafted, so just look into that one a little bit. What could that be? Could that be about? Moving on. Not hinting at anything. Obviously, guys, clearly not hinting anything. I don't know. Next team. Who's the next team we want to talk about? Mikeyy to Shock. Right. I don't know who Mikeyy is, so I'm just going to go away for a couple minutes, and you guys. No, who No, seriously, I don't know who Mike. I don't know much about. Is another NA tier 2. I'm sure he's great.
Yes.
I personally don't. I'm not trying to. I'm not even. It sounds bad. It sounds like I'm trying to ego these guys. I legitimately. I'm not. I'm being not even joking. I just haven't followed tier 2 NA. I just simply haven't.
That's fair.
So
you watch enough contenders. Nobody's going to blame you.
I'm
going
not trying to
blame
ego
Joe.
them. I'm just admitting I don't know. So who? Somebody help, please.
Yeah. So, okay, to give a little bit of background info, we kind of dropped this, like, if attentive viewers, and I actually got one DM from a guy that got it, might have known that we kind of talked about it last time, that this was going to happen.
Okay.
mikeyy has been trialing with a bunch of teams over the last couple of weeks, so definitely a highly sought after commodity. That might not convince you of his qualities yet, though, because if you're thinking this through, it's a North American main tank. That is a highly sought after commodity, not least due to visa restrictions, right?
Yeah.
Now, of course, also played on the Boston Uprising before, right? Was more seen as like a ball specialist, I think. I don't think that's true anymore. I think that's now a solid tank player that we can expect to sort of add to what Kalush has been doing. And honestly, admirably, especially on Winston, right?
Yeah, for sure.
So it's just an addition in order to fill some gaps. Kind of excited to see where a player of that profile can take it, because that's usually a player that you will never see in Overwatch League again, right? Was then picked up by, so for like a player that is on the bottom tier team gets in, just in, and then makes it back. Like just about the only example I can think of is like IM37.
Right. Yeah, like it is a very rare
right?
circumstance. But I mean, we are in a different game. Rosters were built with very little information about what this was supposed to be. It doesn't shock me that somebody like mikeyy gets a second chance and probably does end up working out pretty well for the Shock. Whether it's this meta or the next, or maybe even come playoffs, right? Like it feels like a depth add. Kalush, for the most part, I don't think anybody really should be coming for Kalush or like worried about his position. I think he's going to do just fine. I think he's been, like, to what Yiska said, has performed admirably on the Winston, and obviously has quite a repertoire or a resume of playing flex tanks or your traditional flex tanks. Whereas mikeyy seems to fill out the former when it comes to traditional main tanks. So feels like a depth add. Feels pretty good. I trust Krusty and the staff, so looks good.
Is he the next best available option from North America for this position?
Available, yeah. Unless you can.
unless they could have gotten gesture. Unlucky.
No, unless you can convince Super to come back. Yeah.
Right. Okay. Well, then my next follow-up question is: does this mean they've kind of given up on asking Super?
I guess
they've kind of replaced now. You could argue they sort of replaced Super already with Kalush, but because they don't have the same tank pool, Super could come back. Whereas now it's like they've kind of got a main tank to come in. Although that being said, on top of what I just said, is they could still just get Super at any time and come in and say, "Sorry, mikeyy, but it is Super." And I think mikeyy would even be like, "Yeah, I guess it is Super." So no hard feelings.
I'll just say, like, it wouldn't surprise me if the San Francisco Shock got in contact with Lockheed Martin in order to, like, purchase, flight seats of like an F-15 in order to eject mikeyy post haste in a situation where Super says, "I kind of want to go back," and this guy is just going to be ejected from the explosion of a fighter jet.
What do you guys think this says about Shock's read on the meta? Part of me looks at this and says that Kalush might not have enough confidence on Ryan, and I did say that Ryan could be a potential pick for the next meta. And I think as well, when you look back at Shock during Kickoff Clash, their lack of Ryan probably hurt them a little bit. Because as far as tank goes, Kalush has got Zarya, Sigma, Winston. That's his pool. Yep. Sure, D.Va, but D.Va's not relevant, so I don't even care about talking about D.Va. So those three heroes. I can't remember if he played Doom, maybe a little bit. But certainly not one of the core heroes that we saw from Kalush. So to me, if I was to speculate and guess, make an educational guess, I would say that Kaluge doesn't quite have a Rhine, which is, I get it. I mean, not everyone can just play Rhine. I feel like Rhine, you have to really know what you're doing, like Hardy, to get the most out of Rhine.
Mhm.
It's not a simple hero that you just jump onto and succeed on, even though I think Ryan's mechanics are one of some of the most basic in the entire game, but surprisingly has a lot of depth in the character. In any case, if I was to read into the signing, it would be to say that they definitely want to cover at minimum the Ryan deficit on the team.
Yep.
At minimum. But also a ball, potentially. Like, you said that mikeyy was a ball player. It's not completely out of the question that ball could be a thing in the future. I don't think ball will make an appearance in this meta, although he has been buffed.
Some knockback increase.
You do want to have contingencies to cover something like that in the future, because
Sure.
we all know what happened the last time NA got caught out by ball. Yeah, no, that did not go well for North America, so
For the most part,
don't want that to happen again.
Yeah,
Okay, so
I think the Rhine's pretty good though. I think you're
so
spot on. there.
actually a fair chance mikeyy plays the stage. Probably, maybe.
Yeah.
Kaluge, I would say, is their starter for sure. But I think mikeyy is not necessarily a perma bench either. I think there's a fair chance he plays.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Is that it? Did we cover all the player signings?
So
Anything else? Nope. No other players that we're aware of. Congrats to Reinforce on his engagement. Let's go on. Okay.
True.
Here we go. Big True. Okay, we already spent an hour on this, so let's boost through this so we can get to the actual previews. Let's talk about the Midseason Madness in terms of both the format and also a little bit of the meta speculation. Format. There had been some discussion on the internet recently about format. Here's the overall rundown. Selfless Brad, aka Seffi, the head coach of the Atlanta Reign, tweeted out that, let me actually find it so I don't misquote him. What did he say? He goes, some teams are about to have their entire season snowballed away from them. It's never fun to get a last-minute rule change, but for the sake of fairness, I think Midseason Madness needs independent qualifiers ASAP. For context, currently a team's Stage 1 results tally towards their qualification for Hawaii, aka the Midseason Madness. This means any team that didn't make it to Dallas, bracket strength of schedule, slow start in bracket, has a massive uphill battle to qualify for Midseason Madness and by proxy the eventual playoffs. Now, I want to expand and contextualize what Brad's saying for a little bit, because one of the initial reactions that people may have to this is you probably want to clown on Brad a little bit because he's kind of playing the opposite side now. He's 180'd from his position from last year, which is like the reason why we're snowballing now and giving points to everybody heading to the stage is because last year Atlanta complained that going to Hawaii was pointless if you didn't win because you just got 0 points for going to Hawaii, but it impacted your schedule, required you to travel, blah, 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 and you didn't even get a rest, blah, 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 blah. And it was pointless to go to a tournament and not get any points. Now teams are getting points for traveling to a tournament, just showing up. You show up, you get a point, right? And Brad is saying, well, now that's a problem because teams are getting snowballed. Before people clowning him for going 180 on this,
which he didn't.
It can be true. Both statements can be true. Say again?
It's not a 180.
Which one?
That's not the problem, right? That he sees here.
Okay,
I'm just like I'm saving you.
It's not. It seems like a 180 to the uninitiated.
Sure.
I'm not saying it's a 180. I'm saying people that don't understand this think it's 180.
Yeah. No. Yeah.
I'm speaking from the Reddit Mind Palace. I need Joe to do his voice here so that people understand who's talking right now. I'm saying that both the Brad statements from last year and this year can both be true, even though it seems like he's turned tail. He seems like he's turned around and gone the complete opposite way.
Yeah.
But no, both statements can be true, and you can because it is true. If you go to Hawaii and you don't get anything, then functionally speaking, technically speaking, you have lost more than you've gained by going to the tournament.
Mm-hmm.
Technically speaking, if you wanted to be very pessimistic about it, the most possible glass half empty approach is technically true in that case. But it also technically true that if everybody just gets a point, then now we all snowball out of control. So you have a situation now where I think this is probably more of a factor in APAC than is in NA. I think NA has some problems here, but it's more of a factor in APAC. But let me draw. Let me point it out real quick. So if you are Vancouver Titans or Paris Eternal, you're in 0 points. Versus teams like Shock and Dallas at this point probably can do fuck all and they'll make it, right? Because they have so many points, it's almost impossible for them to not make it. If you go 6-0 as Titans, there is a world where you don't make it.
Yes.
Right? There is a world where you don't make it. That is a problem. But before we do that, I want to backpedal really quickly because we just got breaking news. I'm sorry, but we will come back to the format discussion, but we've just got breaking news at this exact moment in time. Florida Mayhem realized we were live doing a recording, talking about things, and that they should break this news for us. And so here we go. Midseason Madness update from the Florida Mayhem. We're always thinking of ways we can continue to improve as a team and add depth to our roster. While talking with Curry during the break, he revealed to us that he wanted to transition from a player to a coaching role. After deliberating amongst our staff, we felt that moving him to a coach position would be a good fit. To fill the vacant second flex support spot, RuPaul has been signed from Redbird Esports. Thank you, Adam. Following the signing, we've made the difficult decision to release Adam following from his contract. We want to thank him for his contributions this season and wish him the best of luck. With Kareev on our coaching staff, we felt confident in signing another rookie talent and continuing to develop our backline. RuPaul has already joined the team in Florida along with XE, and everyone on the Mayhem is looking forward to building on our strong kickoff clash performance and qualifying for the mid-season tournament. Signed, Albert Ye, GM. Okay. Does that change anything for anyone? I don't want to speak on this too long because we've moved on from topic, but just wanted to make it clear that this has been announced literally right now. So,
okay. I'm not saying Adam should have ever played against over someone, but there's still a compassionate place in my heart because there are very few players that have been fucked just by the circumstances of Overwatch League harder than this guy, right?
Mm-hmm.
From like his Valiant situation, being told like, hello, like AVRL, you of all the people know how hard it is to get off that fucking island. And like he did it twice, but then like just circumstances happen and he doesn't get to play. And that must be heartbreaking. And I hope, I mean, he has a visa. Unfortunately, not too many off-tank positions open for that hero pool, I feel like. But hopefully there's a way.
Hey. I know of one team that really needs an off-tank right now.
Who?
Who could I be talking about?
Right. Okay.
The New England Patriots. Yeah, look, at least Adam, you're right. He did get paid. He does have a visa. It's not all lost. Yes, it does suck that he got cut. But there is a market for tank players with a US visa currently.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not impossible for him to move again, but it is pretty brutal. Like you said, that twice now he basically doesn't get to play. And this time he made it further than the last. It's like he's playing a roguelike, an Overwatch League esports roguelike, and he's getting slightly further every time, but not quite there.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That's the perfect explanation. I like that because you need to die in order to come back next run, which it feels like.
Usually when you start a new run though, you do get some things from your previous run to help you along.
You progress
stronger. And in this case, his progression from his previous run is he got an extra visa and some extra money, right?
Damn.
So his next run can be more fruitful because he has those things from his previous run now. So every run, hopefully, he gets something out of it.
The visa perk is crazy in roguelikes. I agree.
True. Round one visa.
Yeah, actually, dude. Round one visa. Can you imagine that? Like he goes for his second playthrough, finds a visa. That's like a god tier drop. That's a fucking god tier drop, and it's like, bro. You know what? Maybe I have to make a third run for this one, but I got the drop, dude. I got the thing that people want. So we'll see what happens.
For sure.
Oh god. I think what actually happened, let me explain it to you. What actually happened is there's only room for one Australian off tank, and Punk over the last 2 years has secretly plotted behind the scenes to remove Adam from contention so that Punk can be the king of the hill.
Right.
Anyway, yeah. Punk is the leader of the Illuminati. We figured that out.
Yeah.
The Australian
Anyway,
professional organization.
actually, you know what? It's all pay to win because Adam had to earn his visa through going through the roguelike. Punk had his from day one because he's technically he already had an American green card from day one, so he started the game with a green card. He just started with the visa, so he started ahead. Pay to win tactics. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So.
Yep.
Yeah, people complain about pay to win gaming, but people forget that your life is just pay to win. Actually,
It's very true.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Your entire life is pay to win. So.
Don't tell a certain team from Canada that. I'm just saying they may argue otherwise.
Hey, look,
looking at you, Toronto.
You can also spend your money in really poor ways. The amount of people that win lotteries and then become broke a year later, it's a lot of people.
Mm-hmm.
Pay to lose is crazy.
Pay to lose is pretty impressive if you think about it.
Okay, speaking of losing, last year when you lost, you didn't get any points for a tournament.
Right.
Now what a transition, huh? What a transition.
Yeah,
and now you get a point. So Brad is correct. But I don't the only solution I can think of is that participation points for tournaments should only be half a point instead of a full point. Does that make things better? Because that means that a full win is still worth more than just a participation point from the tournament. Do you know what I mean? Like, because half a point is still less than 1 point.
Yeah.
So if you win more in the regular season, you can still reasonably catch up. But teams that show up to a tournament don't just feel like they got hard done by getting nothing while losing on other things like time and getting COVID at a tournament.
I feel like that's fine. You also delayed in your practice, right? I will say, I don't think the bonus point is the problem. The bonus point, what it applies to, is the problem, right? Like if it was just acquired for end of season qualification, I wouldn't have a problem with it. The fact that it is like qualifies for Midseason Madness makes it a snowball situation. Because, for instance, in the London situation, they missed kickoff clash by 1 map. They were -2 against 0, I believe, or 0 against +2 or something.
-2 to 0s, Justice to 0s. Yeah.
Meaning that's 1 map difference, right?
Correct. Well, yeah.
In direct competition.
Yeah.
Right. So nowhere else does 1 map matter as much. Literally nowhere else, right? Because, the situation is the following. You miss off kickoff clash, then you play your next stage and you go 4-2 and Justice keeps their current record. The maps stay all the same. You won 1 more match, but you're still not in. Why? Because you lost one more map. Right? And therefore, you qualify for the Midseason Madness and get another bonus point. Meaning, for 1 map more lost, you now have 2 points more less gained. Okay?
Yeah.
And nowhere in Overwatch League, not in a final, in a stage final, right? Not like in a qualification match, like in, I guess, the only part of the season that ever has more weight towards playoff qualification is play-ins. And I think that's supposed to be the case. And even there, you could argue that this is not the case, right? So I feel like that asymmetry is just doesn't make sense, especially if you're front-loading it to the first stage. Because keep in mind, what do you actually want in the playoffs? If you either you reward everything equally, or you advantage teams that peak late in the season. What you don't want is a team that was very good in the early season, shits the bed, but scoots by on their bonus wins, and then makes it into playoffs based on that at their all-time lowest because play-ins doesn't have... Stage 4 doesn't have a tournament either. So it's not conducive to filtering out the best teams at a time of playoffs either, right? If you value that. If you value having better playoffs for the sake of asymmetry within the season. So you can have asymmetry. Would have no problem, for instance, saying like maybe you have a Countdown Cup tournament, but then the Countdown Cup points would double, or I don't know what you would do, right? That's even the thing that makes sense to me at some level, in order to also get interest up towards the end of the season and whatnot. But like as it is, the asymmetry created by counting bonus points towards mid-season qualification just makes it feel like counterintuitive to your season goals, to fairness and competitive integrity to a degree. Now, here's my real problem, right? It is very noble of Brad to point this out, and he's definitely it's definitely nice that in a situation where it doesn't directly concern him because his team got the bonus
they made
points.
it. They got far. Yeah.
It's nice to point out. I will say we need these voices preseason.
Yes.
Okay. Someone who gets those rule books, and okay, I'll make this offer now. Leak it to me. I'll figure it out and go to the league. And like, I don't even need to be.
He is good at it. We'll give him that.
Right. Just let someone figure it out and like just with a litigious spirit figure out. No, just make suggestions where competitive integrity is being punished or is being hurt here. And also, like, the season goals. At best, what you would want to do is, and I think it's fair to say that you probably need more thought in order to come up with a better solution. My immediate solution would be to say kickoff, like, all the bonus points do not help you in qualification for those tournaments. But I will say, like, we should have had this figured out sooner. We need a process where this is figured out by. I don't quite know why you would do this, other than creating stability in knowing which teams will be able to make it to the Midseason Madness. In order for those teams, like, there's a probability tree of things that can happen. The most annoying one would be if everyone by Midseason Madness, when you gotta book those travel stuff and, you know, figure all of that out, we still don't know who's going to go. We have zero teams eliminated by that point. I think from an organizational point, that might be a challenge, right? Because now every team needs to organize that. Maybe you want to discourage that, and I'm fine with systems sort of finagling you there. Just play better if you want to, like, have a chance for longer, right? But yeah, this advantage kickoff clash, and it's also like even the advantage that you're getting. This is not, we just found, or the public just found this out. It's not something that we had like on broadcast. It's like, oh my God, the first stage will be very important because everyone understood, okay, the first stage is important because it qualifies. It's half of the qualification for the Midseason Madness. So there is some, you know, spice there. But the bonus point and the importance of that should have been communicated. That's a legitimate storyline that you also didn't take advantage of if you wanted to have been there. To sort of round it out, here's my Germanness coming into play and my desire for competitive integrity. Arguably, you shouldn't change it at this point.
I love laying it all out and then going, leave it alone.
Yeah, fix it before it fucking happens. You know?
I agree. This is a league issue. This is a poo-poo on the league. It's an obvious, like, rubber band from last year's situation, but it was an overcompensation and nobody piped up about it. AVRL.
I have a solution. My solution is that kickoff clash points do not count towards Midseason Madness. Kickoff clash tournament points don't count towards Midseason Madness, but the regular season points do.
Yes, I'm fine with that.
Here's my defense against. I have both a critique and a defense against the current format. The critique is basically just repeating what Yiska said, so I'll save everyone from that and won't do that. I won't just repeat everything he said, because snowballing is a problem. But the defense is also that the Midseason Madness is a more important, higher stakes, bigger tier event than the Kickoff Clash because it's an international versus a regional event. So I also don't like the idea of just having an independent qualifier because we saw the graphic. Somebody on Reddit made a graphic. Looks very clean, looks very nice. Appreciate it. But the problem with that is last year, all the 4 tournaments were equal. They were all internationals, right? Technically speaking, they're all Hawaii.
Mm-hmm.
They're all worth the same things. None of it is valued higher. It's different this year. This year we have 2 regionals, 1 international, and then playoffs leading to another international. Yes, so I don't think you can reliably weigh the qualification of the Kickoff Clash and the Midseason Madness equally. You can't, because teams with a better strength schedule in NA for Stage 2 are going to have a better time qualifying to the Midseason Madness. So it almost makes more sense to combine both stages of regular seasons, 12 games instead of just 6, because in NA, all 12 games means you've played every single team once. So as far as strength of schedule goes, you could argue that the strength of schedule is a complete non-factor for qualification to Midseason Madness when you combine the regular seasons of both stages together for 12 total points, 12 total matches, correct? Because you've played a full round robin at that stage. No concerns about strength of schedule. From a competitive integrity standpoint, that's the best solution, in my opinion. But the issue for me arises when you add the tournament points in, because now the snowballing is an issue. Because now the teams that did well in the actual tournament, for some reason, get to have that extra impact be applied to qualification into a tournament that's not got anything to do with a Kickoff Clash. Because you are awarded for having done well in the first stage. But why do the tournament points need to be reflected for qualification into a tournament that's not that? This is a completely separate tournament. Do you understand? Like, that part to me is not good.
It sucks more even in APAC, right? Because I think all top 3 teams just need to win 1 match and they auto qualified for Midseason Madness. I mean, the way how it has shaken out in terms of like the team with the best season score, meaning Spark, like getting the least points, and then the team with the most, with the least season wins getting the most points in Seoul. That just makes it so they're top 3 teams that just like almost auto qualify for the Midseason Madness.
You never
and
want.
It's almost impossible for anyone outside to get in.
Chengdu, Valiant in charge, they're done.
Yeah.
They are fucked. Like Philly, who has the least points, still has 5 points in APAC. The next team is Chengdu on 2. It's a 3-point gap.
Yeah.
For a regular season, that for a stage that only has 6 points to gain, like,
it feels very inconsequential now. This for APAC, right?
Yeah, in APAC, you just give it to Fusion, Dragon, Spark, and Dynasty. Hunters, Valiant, and Charge are done. They cannot qualify. Like, they would have to go perfect.
Yeah.
You know, like they would have to go flawless to even have a chance. Not only would they have to go flawless, but somebody else in the top 4 would have to flunk. They would have to flunk hard and lose a lot.
Yeah.
The gaps in the points has just been insane now. It's especially a bad issue in APAC. It's bad in NA. It is horrendous in APAC.
Yeah.
Absolutely horrendous. And I don't think it would take that much effort to remove the tournament points from mid-season qualification. That's not even a huge change in the format. So as far as saying like, oh, you know, maybe it's too late to change format, I don't think it is. Because that doesn't change your approach to how you're going to play stage 2. Your goal is still to win every game that you can. All of them, maybe, in some cases. But you're just understanding that, you know, what gets you into the Midseason Madness is your combination of 12 total games between two stages, and your tournament points don't count. That to me seems fair. And that to me seems like something that can still be done now. There is time to change that, and it would be a mistake by the league to not do that.
Yeah, the only thing where I mildly... Okay, nobody exploited that as far as I can tell. But if you look at the season format and accurately locates that Kickoff Clash probably is the most important stage in the year, then you could have had a world where you allocate most of your budget into stage 1, sign the most 30-day contract, go all in trying to accrue points, and then drop them once points are less important, right? That could have been a strategy. And if now the league switches up on me and I have misallocated my resources because of that, because now everyone gets, because realistically speaking, I play this how it's supposed to be played based on the design, and nobody else, you get the idea.
Yeah.
As far as I can tell, nobody did this, and that's just about the only thing that feels a little rough for me on the edges as to why to change those rules. Then again, like, damn if you do, damn if you don't.
There's a good argument that's just like, maybe you did, quote unquote, abuse a system that was poorly designed, and you feel like you should be rewarded for that. But if it damages competitive integrity and it's not good for the overall health of the league, my perspective, tough shit. I'm sorry. You spent money. I might have baited you into spending money. It's my bad. But we still got to fix the shit, and you have to cop it too. I'm sorry. Like, is what it is.
Yeah.
That'd be my position on this.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, it's a fair. I'm not too far removed from that. I will be happy with either decision, to be honest. But I will be. I'm also appreciative of like designing a season format being it's super complex in the scheduling and whatnot. For instance, another thing that's very weird is like some teams play their rematch already in the first half of the season. That's a weird one, right? Like,
true.
Some teams will play Shock in stage 1 and Shock in stage 2, and then not in stage 3 and 4.
Yeah. So in the first half of the stage where it actually matters, your schedule is weighted significantly different.
So I'm wrong. It's not going to be a full round robin between the first 2 stages.
I don't think.
I thought it was going to be a full round robin. It's not going to be a full round robin. That's fucked up. Now that I can't stand behind. What the hell is that about?
Let me verify.
Because if you are going to be playing every opponent twice in NA over the course of the entire year over 4 stages,
that would be fair.
It would make the most sense to play a full round robin over 12 games between the first 2 stages, and then do that again in stage 3 and 4, another full round robin.
Yeah, and Eric is bringing it up. For instance, Vancouver Titans is playing the San Francisco Shock twice.
Oh, that is fucking stupid.
Yeah.
Yikes, dog. Actual yikes.
Yeah.
That's a yikes from me, dog. No. Holy shit. That's egregious. I'm sorry. That is egregious. Yeah. How did you fuck that up? Like, you actually have a system in NA where you can play 2 round robins over 4 stages, and you just haven't taken advantage of that. What are you doing? What?
I don't know.
Actually, in my mind, dude, this is complex. I'm not sure if this is a feature you can't forego based on like having to schedule them. Maybe it. Okay, let's say if it was avoidable, it's fucking stupid. But if there's a scheduling error thing where you will run into the position where this.
Why is it unavoidable?
Yeah, I'm not sure if it would be. I could imagine. Eric, help me. Is my logic stupid?
No, it's not unavoidable. It is not unavoidable.
Right.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't understand what you're scheduling for. You're just playing online. So like, why can't you just play every team once in the first half and then every team once again in the second half?
Because theoretically, like, maybe you run into situations where you don't always have the same amount of matches per week. So maybe you are then pairing teams differently based on that, and you deemed that to be less of an infliction. It is very complicated. I'll definitely like. This is one of those situations where I don't want to go too hard because someone who's better at this, might just say, okay, well, at that point, like it would mess it up because now you're offering up trap games, or like we actually can't because this team would then have to play 7 matches. We would have to count it in the next stage or whatever. Maybe my logic is completely off here.
Why would you have to play 7 matches? I don't get it. What do you mean? What is that? How would you arrive at that conclusion?
So, I'm not capable of logicaling this through, but if you're one complication could also come through travel of the homestands, and some homestand.
What homestands?
There is none.
Like the Dallas Fuel stuff, for instance, right? Like
one game.
Dallas.
Houston and Dallas both playing in Texas. One game.
Yeah, maybe I'll
Again,
look like very
It's
stupid.
not our jobs.
Yeah.
It is very weird. It's unfortunate that it happens. Should it happen? Don't know.
It is our job to critique it, and I'm going to do that.
Correct.
Yeah.
It's not our job to figure out as to why this is happening or why it is not happening. What we are saying, it is a fair critique of the league that this is, not a fair ruling based on the schedule that you have provided. So it should be changed.
I'll tinker around with it, see if there was an alternate solution.
Brother,
Sure.
if Vancouver plays, I'm actually going to check the schedule. Vancouver playing Shock twice in 2 stages in a row. What in the? They do. Yeah, that's confirmed.
Yeah.
Holy shit, it is bad.
Yeah, they're borked. They're
I'd
kind
be
of
fucking-
screwed.
I'd be pissed if I was Vancouver. Now, look, Vancouver, not a very
are.
good team. They're probably not going to beat Shock anyway. It's not
Mhm.
about whether they'll beat Shock or not. It's about
No,
the
it's
fact
the-
that their first
principle.
half of the year, stage 1 and stage 2 schedule, is so much harder than the second half of the year because you're not playing a true round robin. You're playing a situation where your first half of the year is way more stacked than the second half of the year. Now, that could play to some advantages for Vancouver towards the end, where it might make their ability to get into Summer Showdown a little bit easier.
They also play the range twice.
But
Seems rough, man.
as we've discovered, getting into Summer Showdown, who gives a fuck? The most important part of the year was kickoff
Yep.
clash getting into mid-season, because that's where you get the fucking bonus points to snowball.
Yeah.
Yep.
So Vancouver's season is ruined now. Now, granted, because I know someone's gone out there in the fucking keyboard right now typing, no, they're probably not going to win anyway. No, they were probably not going to make playoffs. No, they're not going to be one of the best teams. That's not the point. The point is it wasn't fair to start with. They were both set up to fail, and then they were also probably going to fail anyway. But even if they were going to fail anyway, they shouldn't have been set up to fail.
Yeah,
If that makes sense.
And
So-
I guess one really quick, one thing we gotta say is their schedule in stage 1 was Boston, London, Florida, New York, Excelsior, the first four games. If you get 0 out of that, then right.
Yeah.
But
I'm saying having to play like Atlanta twice or having to play Shock twice is a little bit unfair.
yeah.
But you're right. I mean, look, my point is both. They are both they both failed, and they were also both set up to fail. And those two things are actually separate, but both actually happened.
What if they should just be better? What if they just be better?
One of them is actually have a point. One of them is
What if they
Vancouver's fault.
suck?
The other one is not Vancouver's fault. And the one that's not Vancouver's fault, I have a problem with.
I
is what I'm
don't
saying.
feel bad. They just suck. They should just spend more money. They should dive into their couch cushions and pull out more
Where were you
pocket
earlier?
change.
Where were you earlier when I was talking about Reddit and
I was
you weren't
eating
here?
McDonald's. I'm sorry. I have to dust the Dorito dust from my fingertips.
you see your hentai on through your glasses reflecting, right?
You don't speak about that.
Jesus Christ, why do you have those?
It's from my niece's birthday party.
Speaking of
makes
which,
sense.
man, like, it's got to be said, and this is not my opinion, I'm just making a factual statement here, but the R34 artists are going wild over Junk Queen. Anyway, why do I know that? Why do I know that? I don't know.
True.
She's just, I know
Mysteries
that
of the
because she's,
world.
I know that because she's just clear baked for that kind of content. She is just legitimate bait for that kind of content. Anyway, don't tell me Blizzard don't know what they're doing. They know what they're doing.
Oh, Eric puts out a good point. 34th hero.
Jesus
Just
Christ.
saying.
They're not
Just
being
saying.
subtle
Shout
with
out
it.
Eric. Shout out Eric.
God,
They're not subtle with
bro.
it, right? It could have been an Omnic, It could have just
Could've.
been, someone that
Could've.
looks roughly like Zenyatta, completely asexual to anyone but objectophiles. Nope. We had to get
No, it's got to be. Anyway,
We see you. We see you, Blizzard. Don't. You're not
I'm
coy.
not. Let's just say that some of those. Again, not that I would know. I'm just asking for a friend. Some of the 3D models that are used for such despicable content are such high quality that I'm like, well, how did they get access to that? Very interesting.
Right.
What were we talking about? What were we? I wouldn't know. I'm just asking for a friend.
so bad.
My friend Plato and Aristotle asked me about it. It's weird.
Format. Sorry, we're talking about format.
Yes, format.
Even though
Shit's
let's
whack.
be clear, we all know who the real content creators who were carrying the off season were for the Overwatch community. We all know who they really were. And I'm of course talking about the streamers that stuck along. Good on you, Flats, and so you guys definitely carried it, and not the porn industry. Anyway, sorry, what else? A format. Format. I'm actually done on the format. Anything else about the format?
I think I'm charitable to the league to kind of reiterate, I think, a point that you both made. Like, I understand that you wanted to make a change. This is too far in the wrong direction, so hopefully we can be a little bit more agile mid-season to, remedy that. Along with other things, please stop making us watch double push weeks. Thank you. Signed, disgruntled fan number 5.
Yeah, please just stop making us watch push. Period. Full stop. Thank you. That'd be nice.
Yep.
So, let's quickly discuss meta before we move on, just because it was in the notes. And it does allow me to promote myself, so I'm going to be a bit of a scumbag here. And then we're going to talk about previews, and we tend to fly through the previews anyway, so it is what it is. Based on patch notes or what I believe we'll be playing in the next tournament cycle, we should be on the current beta patch, so not the beta 2 patch. So recent news that we're not going to get into until the next episode reveal that beta 2 is coming very soon in July, I believe. I can't even remember the date. And there's obviously going to be new content there and a bunch of stuff, Junker Queen, blah, blah, blah. Overwatch League is not going to be on that patch. Overwatch League is going to be on the current beta patch. So if you all remember whatever the last patch the beta 1 was on, May 12th, I believe, that is going to be the patch that Stage 2 Midseason Madness will be playing on. To go over it very quickly, I'm not going to go over everything, just to very quickly, briefly fly through it. The changes include Brig Shield Bash knockback doubled. Zenyatta has 225 HP and a kick. Anna got nerfed. Bionic duration decreased. Batiste got a humongous fucking buff.
Yeah.
From his healing, his regular alt fire healing ammo increase, and then he's got this shift where his healing, what is it called? The field that he heals, the shift thing, like regenerative burst. That's right.
Yeah.
Now heals for 50 instantly, and then 50 over time instead of 100 over time, and the instant heal portion will be doubled on targets that are 50% or lower health. So against teammates that are low, you press shift, they instantly get 100 HP and then start healing for 50 overtime as well. Crazy.
Yeah, it is very good.
And then, just because the other things need to be noted here, Lucio got a nerf, self-healing reduced by 30% on the crossfade. Grav nerfed from 4 seconds to 3.5, very minor. Wrecking Ball knockback increased by 36%. Winston ammo for secondary decreased. Roadhog's ultimate has been changed to a transformation ability instead of a channel ability, so you can't just sleep him out of it or CC him out of it. Not that there's that much CC, but what does exist can't just cancel the ultimate. Sombra's movement speed during stealth has been lowered. She was pretty weak anyway, and she got nerfed again. But deserved, because I think the movement speed was pretty nuts. Speaking of which, Sprint no longer allows you to move with the passive on the DPS. And the visor's been changed for Soldier as well, so that it allows for critical hits now, but no longer has infinite fall off. And the rifle damage, the left click auto attack damage, reduced 2 damage from 20 to 18. That's actually significant. That's actually a huge nerf. Sojin buffed projectile width on the railgun from 0.05 meters to 0.1, so doubled. I think that's actually really strong. Power slide cooldown reduced from 7 to 6, and then also she has higher rate of fire and more ammo in her gun. And then Mercy got that Guardian Angel thing, which she can do a super jump now based off. I don't know how. I haven't even tested it out personally. Basically, you can do a super jump now using Guardian Angel reliably. And some people complain it was like maybe too easy. It was too bullshit. I don't know. I'm not a Mercy player. I also don't care for Mercy. So, is what it is. So, anybody want to comment on that briefly, or should I just get into the tweet?
Oh, go ahead.
No, yeah, take it.
in my opinion, based on those changes, we have Ana, Lucio, Zarya nerfed. No, Zarya's nerf wasn't insane.
Yeah.
But there's something that does exist there. The Ana nerf is pretty significant. The Lucio nerf is significant for his own survivability, but otherwise doesn't really change how he operates in the team. The big news is the Zen and BAP and Sojin buffs are huge. Zen from 200 to 225 is nutty. I gotta say, man, Zenyatta over time from his release to now, he's been in the gym, he's been fucking
True.
working out and getting buff. He started on 100. Did he start on 150?
Yeah.
I
Back
think
in Overwatch
it's
1?
body shotable. Yeah, by Widow, right?
Yeah, 150 HP, I think, on day one
Mhm.
release in beta. Overwatch 1. Now he's on 225.
Yeah.
Holy fuck. And then he's got a kick as well. I think the kick is like kind of cool. It allows him to self, peel
Self peel a little
at
bit.
least
Yeah.
slightly. And I mean, any CC you get, but to be honest, giving Zenyatta even minus CC allows you at a high level. So if you're a really good Zenyatta player, to get more reliable left click shots. So if you kick somebody and then headshot them, you can reliably like hit people with headshots after kicking, right? So that it does help you with getting damage in to actually secure kills. You can also, I guess, environmental people as well if that ever becomes a thing. I don't know if Zenyatta players will be playing far enough up for that to be reliable, but yeah, it's there. I think the 225 HP thing is huge. It's actually monstrous. That's the 25 HP difference is gigantic. I mean, we all know from when Cassidy went from 200 to 225, it felt like a lot.
Yeah.
When Widowmaker went from 200 to 175, that was a big change as well. So,
Yeah.
BAP's change. Oh my god, the burst healing on BAP is wild.
Yep.
Ooh, it is a lot. Sojin, just more reliable damage. This combined with Soldier being nerfed is massive. Because previously, Sojin was really strong. Soldier was like good, but not like insane. And everyone only plays Sojin in scrims, and no one plays Soldier. Now I expect the opposite. Now I expect Soldier to drop off in officials and scrims because 18 damage compared to 20 is a huge cut down.
Mhm.
Humongous. And yeah, Sojin also being reliable on right click means that all the people that I saw in Alpha that were insanely good at Sojin can now come back and play her again. Guys like Kai. Kai was so good. So yeah, that's the thing. With that being the case, because Zen and BAP are so good, I expect double flex support. I do. Ana is still good, even though she got nerfed, because anti-heal is still insane. Zen and BAP are both super viable. So 3 flex supports right at the top of the table for pick priority. I mean, I think this is the most likely we will ever see double flex support this entire season. Well, obviously, if this continues, then for the rest of the season too. But this is the start, right? This is the catalyst. So I'm heavily expecting it because you have Zen BAP as a duo for poke compositions with Sigma being viable. You have okay, this isn't double flexible, but you have BAP and Lucio in brawl compositions with Ryan that are going to be super viable.
Yep.
Brig Zen super viable because Brig got a buff as well. She's actually pretty reasonable in Overwatch 2. I think the pros have kind of gotten used to how to play her. And Brig Zen was already getting playtime in last beta anyway, but now they'll probably get more playtime, especially with Winston's minor buff. And yeah, I mean, you could, if you want to be super greedy, like Ana BAP as well for a healing line. Like, can you imagine the amount of burst healing with Byronade and the new regenerative burst on BAP? It's fucking insane. So yeah, I said in the tweet that Zarya might be dead in the meta. Zarya meta might be dead, but I was being hyperbolic. I don't think she'll be dead, but I think her pick rate will go down, and not because she's not good, but because of Ryan being played.
Yeah, her natural kind of counter.
I foresee an increase in Ryan gameplay because BAP enables Ryan. BAP being really good means you want to play compositions that have BAP. What are the 2 compositions that have BAP? Ryan and Sigma. Those are the 2 compositions that have BAP. And if Ryan gets played a lot, Zarya will not get played because Ryan comps beat Zarya comps currently.
Yep.
So that's my meta read. That's what I think will happen in the meta. That's not based on any scrims. I didn't watch any scrims. No one's told me any scrim results. That's just purely my own personal read on the meta based on patch notes.
Right.
Yeah,
So
I don't think I fit too far off. I think I'm a little bit more reeled in terms of, you know, if it's going to be double flex support or not. But I think otherwise, I think, yeah, a higher increase in Ryan, almost no Zarya. In naturally following that, maybe some Doom. I don't know. It's a little weird. I think the one thing I am like confident in
like
is the
Zen
Ryan
Doom, maybe?
increase. Yeah.
Well,
I don't
if
know.
Ryan increases, Doom increases.
Right.
Because the rock, paper, scissors of the comps still exist. I'm also considering Doom increase for Sigma comp as well. Because the one way to get past Sigma very quickly and just get in their faces of the backline and punish a double flex support is just to run at them with the Doom.
Yeah.
Or fly into them with the Doom.
Mhm.
Because one thing that Zen BAP comp for double flex support does not do is counter the Doom. If you do not run Ana, you do not have sleep. If you do not have sleep, you do not counter Doom.
Yep.
So there is a consideration that even though Zen BAP are both strong, for even a double flex support Sigma poke composition, you might have to run either BAP Ana or Zen Ana.
Mhm.
Just because you need something to deal with Doom. Or Winston, if they dive you. But I actually think, depending on the map, Ryan comp also counters Sigma. Because you just run at him. If there's flat ground, or even if there isn't, you just sim TP. You can just run at the Sigma and overpower him with the Ryan.
Yeah,
so
like
I
on
actually think
most control maps, don't think Sigma's gonna get played. Escort
I-
maybe is probably the big one.
even on Escort, you just TP into the Sigma. I think Ryan will probably end up being one of the most important heroes in the next meta. Which I think London are super happy about. But Glads could be happy about it as well. Glads are flexible enough to play everything. This is also why I think, like, if you're Shock, you need a Ryan player. Kaluge probably can't cover it. If you're Valiant, you need just a main tank because Sashin only plays Arya.
Yep.
If you look at just the player signings alone, plus the patch notes, plus what my readers, it all makes kind of sense. Like, I think we're all kind of on the same page here. Florida want a double flex support. Shock want a main tank that plays Ryan.
Mhm.
Valiant want one as well. It's obvious. Like, I think this should be pretty accurate. Maybe.
Mhm. Yiska, you wanted to say something?
I mean,
Or cut you off?
I asked around a little, and at the start of the week, at least, it looked like a bunch of teams were forcing Zen. And in terms of tanks, there was actually a bunch of Doom, and then more Sigma than we're used to. So
Yeah.
more than just Soccer Royale, right? Where he was playing.
Sure.
So take that for what you will. I think there's also some motivated reasoning for teams to build Zen comps. Because if you go through the mental Rolodex of flex supports and how many, especially top teams that do define metas, have built their rosters, I think they have a natural inclination to play Zen more. And I think that's also what we're seeing. At the same time, I mean, that buff is nutty.
I mean, think about it. On Shock, you have Violet Finn. Perfect for double flex support.
Yeah.
Exactly what you want. Like, Violet, famous for both his Zen and his BAP. Finn for his Ana, but absolutely good at Zen as well. Haven't seen as much BAP on Finn because it was never really meta in Korea. But it doesn't matter because Violet will play it anyway. So, Shock already, you know, they got their main tank. They got their double flex support players. I don't think you're going to get better Shock meta. This is a perfect Shock meta. I think they're one of the biggest teams that win from this meta in terms of what they want. I think there's a potential for Dallas to be a little bit handicapped here from not having a second flex support. This is where it's going to bite them a little bit. Chio's BAP needs to be very good. Otherwise, Field is going to have to do most of the work. That being said, maybe Dallas could just run permanent Ryan comps with Chio Lucio, you know, and Fearless just comes in and play Ryan and Harmon's now benched. Which will not be good for Harmon's MVP fantasy if he just gets perma-bench for this meta. But, I mean, Zarya pick rate's about to go down quite a lot. But that being said, Sigma pick rate goes up. But then again, that being said again, if you want to play Sigma, you need double flex support. And they don't have a second flex support. So either Chio gets good or, I don't know. Glads win big. They already have Shu skewed. They already proved. I think last year, I think they were the best double flex support team last year. They were also one of the only double flex support teams, but Skew's versatility is unmatched. From bouncing between heroes like Brig and Zen at the same time, it's just so important. Space Sigma, obviously, we know that's really good. Expecting Space to get a lot more playtime this stage for sure. Stage 1, I think it was just all Rhino, like you barely saw Space. Came in for a couple of circuits. Now I expect Space to be on several maps if Glads want to run poke, which they should because they've shoe skewed. Like when you have shoe skewed, you should be looking to play poke.
True.
Yes, sir.
Hard to match
And
that.
Bebe, you might actually legitimately see Bebe.
True. Yeah.
Like
Damn.
no
Not
cap,
wrong.
you may actually see Bebe. As crazy as that sounds, oh boy, I can't wait. That's going to be interesting. God, some teams will suffer, but I think some teams will also adapt by playing non-double flex support comps. Teams that don't have 2 flex supports will probably lean towards like a Lucio Ana or a Lucio's a Briggs in. Sorry, they'll lean towards either Briggs in or Lucio Ana or Lucio Bap for specific comps. So they're not that screwed. And, there's still options. I don't think I wouldn't be ringing the death knell for Dallas or anything like that. I think they can easily adapt, but I just think like there's definitely going to be one comp that they can't play as well as others just because they don't have 2 great flex support players like some teams do. Or in the case of New York, Yiska would tell you they have no good flex support players. So. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that. I'm just saying that maybe Yiska's saying it. I'm trying to put words in Yiska's mouth. All right, final thoughts before we move on. Who can play some BAP?
Gangnam Jin. I'm fine with that. Just BAP
Okay.
out.
Are you gonna meme on him for his windows, for his alt placement?
For sure. Should we talk about the little quip that we have in our watch parties?
I feel like we did, but TLDR for anybody who doesn't, tune in for the watch parties, definitely come join us. It's a barrel of fun. Yiska has gotten in the habit of playing Gangnam Style by Psy every time there is a terrible ultimate on the broadcast because of Gangnam Jin and his less than stellar sound barrier usage. So, yeah.
Dude, I know he will be a great dad because he would never beat his kids. Like, like this man.
He went there. He went there.
This man can't hit the wide side of a barn. Like, so often, just like his main tank dies, and it's like almost a celebration of like confetti, like he's dead, and then the sound barrier never reaches the tank, dying. And Callan's just like, that's my life, I guess.
Yep.
He's just on
Love
ping,
that.
all right? That's what happens when you play from East Coast. That's the excuse. Okay, predictions time. New York is in here, so New York is actually in here twice, so Yiska, you enjoy that. First up, Florida versus London. Oh, snap. Back to reality. What do we got here?
Yeah, that's a hard
Who
one.
has the take? It is. This would not have been that hard last stage, but this stage, I think it is hard.
Yeah, it's hard.
Because I think Ryan's going to be fucking good. So
Yep. I think London jumped out early, got a lot of good practice on the comp that looks to be very, very meta favored, let's say. I don't doubt that Florida will adapt very well. I think they're a very well-built team. I think someone is a absolute nutter butter. However, London probably is going to be upsetting this. I'm going to say 3-2 London Spitfire wins.
In my head, it's like, yes, they played a bunch of Rhine, but like playing Rhine with Zen sidelines is a different beast, it feels like.
It is different. No arguments there.
So like you almost need to revisit your positional play in how you take engagements, possibly even rotations, possibly where you hold defensively, where you set up your Zen.
Sure, I think I'm more charitable to that than having teams that haven't necessarily had a lot of playtime on Rhine pick that up. I feel like London starts from a better floor than Florida does.
I'm going 3-2 Florida.
Reasonable. It is a close one. It's tough.
I'm going 3-1 Florida. No, I've landed on my belief is that Gumba, don't let me down. Do not let me down, Gumba. That I believe career coaching difference. No, I believe that Doomfist Briggs in is the truth as well. Ryan is good, but Doomfist Briggs in can outplay the Ryan comp several different ways. One, Doomfist shits on BAP. You want a lamp? Let me just punch people out of the lamp. What are you going to do now?
Right.
You want a regen burst? Let me just punch people out of the range of that too. Nice. Fuck, man. Yeah, Briggs in could be really good. Genji's still good. Tracer's still good. I mean, dude, the only way this comp gets any better is if Sombra was actually a good hero and Ball was playable.
Sure.
If you could play Ball, Sombra, Tracer with Briggs in, this would be fucking crazy.
Mm-hmm.
But even without that, how much do I trust Hydra on Tracer, Checkmate Genji to carry them across the line? Assuming they do play that. My problem with Florida is if they try and play the Ryan mirror, I think they lose.
Mm-hmm.
And I think Florida's coaching staff is smart enough to understand that if they try and play the Ryan mirror, they probably lose. So I think they don't play the Ryan mirror, they play the Ryan counter. And if they play the Ryan counter, I think Doom Briggs in could be good enough to beat it. So I'm gonna go Florida 3-1.
Okay.
Again, depends on if Gumba lets me down or not. What is the coaching staff read? What is their read?
Sure.
Are they going to get baited? Are they going to get baited by Christopher and Hardy being like, hey, play Ryan into us? And Gumba's like, yeah, let's do it. And someone plays Ryan and he gets shat on by Hardy. You know? So this is going to be a coaching staff battle. Like, to me, this is not a battle of the 5 players versus the 5 players in the field. This is a battle of the Gumba versus Christopher, in my opinion.
Okay.
Gotcha.
I like
And
that.
I think Gumba's smart. I think Gumba's smart enough not to get baited here. So I expect them to counter comp. That's my read. We happy with that? Did Joe go? Joe went.
Yep. I've got London.
Dallas Shock. I got Shock, yeah. I think, actually, how much do I trust Mikey off the bat? Oh,
That's
it's
kind of
hard. I
where
don't
I
know
fall as
Mikey.
well.
The problem is I don't know Mikey. I don't know him. I haven't seen him play.
Can you
And we
trust a
do
stranger?
know-
Can you trust a
that?
stranger?
Can I trust a stranger?
Yeah. Would you walk up to a stranger in a game spot and just give your Okay, it's a joke, but
It's inside joke. Yeah. Can you make friends
Yeah.
in Australia, Avril? Can I walk up to somebody at a Starbucks and just like make small talk?
are we going there
like,
now?
hey.
Are we going there?
No, we're not. No, we're not.
Could.
Just
You could if you wanted
throwing
to.
it
Okay,
out there.
no, okay. Here's one example. Because we found out peculiar differences in cultures, and so Americans are sociopaths, but
Yep. That's what we found out.
so we have different scenarios. Let's say you sit down in a train and someone sits next to you, right? And you're doing the normal things you do on a train, and that person strikes a conversation. Is that awkward or is that okay?
Depends on how attractive that person is.
Based.
And,
I mean,
And-
you're not wrong.
and see, that's the problem. Is I literally just said the most based answer possible. You don't fucking lie to yourselves. You know it's
Yeah.
true.
Yeah,
You
it is.
know it's true. You guys want to know what the difference between creepy and flirting? Literally how attractive the person is. If you're ugly, it's creepy. If you're beautiful, it's flirting. That's literally the difference.
But yeah, so you agree that like if someone strikes a conversation, then there is an intention behind that beyond just wanting to connect to a fellow person. Your expectation would be like someone's flirting with me or trying to rob me.
It's either someone there's like some sort of somebody wants something. At the end of the day, somebody wants something. I don't know.
something. Yes.
I don't
No.
know why we're in this conversation, but
No,
we're going to finish
because
it.
Joe is just like not from this world and thinks it's just like a nice thing
So
to
here's
do.
what people want. Here's what people want. You're either just lonely as fuck and you're bored. You're bored and you're looking for something to do. Right?
Please,
But you still, even if,
leave a comment below if you think both of these people are closeted gamers that don't go out and touch grass enough.
He's so salty.
People outside of America just don't do that as often.
There we
just don't.
go.
I'm not gonna get into it.
There
You know
we
what
go.
I think is flirting? You know who I think is gonna be flirting? I think Fearless is gonna be flirting with the San Francisco front line when they slap them
No,
up.
no,
with the
no. We're not
rom-com.
getting off this,
And
but you're losing.
they're going to be winning. They're going to be winning 3-1. They have history on it. I think Shock
No.
starts slow. Their coaching staff has done so in the past. Dallas is going to be running Ryan and running it
You know what?
all over the Shock.
That's very
I
socially
respect-
awkward of you.
I respect that Yiska is trying to extend the podcast length. He's got nothing to do. He's got nothing else. He's got nothing else to do today after this. So
Correct.
he's like, you know what? I'm going to extend this podcast a little bit longer.
Yeah. It's also just to get one over on Joe. You know, I felt like
Yep.
you had your comeuppance. You were high on your
Right.
social kite, and now it took you down a peg by introducing you to
whatever you need to sleep better at night.
to
I will be that martyr for you.
I'm having a great time here. You know how much time you spend on that discussion, AVRL? It's actually unreasonable. What we found out is it's very normal for Americans, apparently normal for people from New Zealand or that particular person we asked.
Really?
It's very unnormal for like Central or Northern Europeans.
People in New Zealand don't do that. In fact, New Zealanders have a reputation for being a little bit standoffish,
Okay.
which is why I walk around with an ego. No, I don't. But it looks like I do. No, I do. No, I don't know. Anyway, I don't know.
So who wins, guys? Shock or Fuel?
The
Who
truth is,
wins?
the truth
Isn't that
is, I'm actually
It's like
too
a
depressed to have an ego.
match.
It's not possible for me to have an ego because I'm actually depressed. I suffer from depression, and I don't think depressed people can have an ego functionally. So I therefore medically I do not have an ego. Anyway, I want to go Shock. I desperately want to go Shock, don't I? But I just don't know about Mikey. I don't know. I'm sure he's fine, but I've never seen him play. I don't know where to put him. So there's a real chance that if they go Ryan, they just get slapped by Fearless. Like Fearless just dunks on the skid. But maybe they don't. Maybe they just play Kaluge. Ah, shit.
Which one is more beautiful?
This is a trap game. This is a trap game. This is 100% a trap game. Because
Start of a meta,
because you want to go Shock here because you're like, oh man, the Violet Fin double flex support. But then you know that Dallas, there's a real chance that both these scenarios are true.
Mhm.
Dallas could come out and just fucking destroy the Shock. But also, Shock could just come out and just destroy Dallas Field. Both
True.
are so equally true that it's a complete trap, this game. Fuck. I trust... Fuck it, I trust Rush a little bit more. I go with Dallas. I trust Rush. And also because Fearless is proven, and I don't know anything about Mikey. I can't put my faith into a player that I haven't seen before. It's nothing against him. It's just I haven't seen him, so I can't do it.
True.
And even if they do play Kaluge, I don't think they can play Sigma double flex every map. I don't think so. So yeah, I'm gonna have to go Dallas here. 3-1. Fuck it.
We are unfortunately still in the stock recession for the San Francisco Shock. The market correction is still ongoing, and I also think, okay, this is a weird take after like Dallas Fuel once again shit the week 1 bed, but in my mind, this is still a team that's good early in the meta because they usually define it. But
Okay.
if the preseason goes too long, then people either copy better or find better solutions to their proposition, and then just get the one up until they then course correct, right? So I think I feel like Dallas will have a pretty strong understanding here. I actually expect them to play a bunch of Doom.
Dallas.
Yeah. And it's going to be a good match. I expect that much. A
Mhm.
good match doesn't always have to be a 3-2. I
Sure.
say 3-1 Dallas.
What about a 3-0 good match? Is that possible?
Yeah, theoretically, I
Those
think
are
it is.
rare, but yeah, they happen sometimes.
Okay.
It's a battle.
Shall we move on?
Yes.
New York, Washington. Yiska, you love New York. You can go first.
True.
I do love New York. Don't make me a hater. I love
hater here.
I love the justice here though.
Ooh, that's a strong word. You love? Yikes.
Ooh.
I feel like Mag is just going to bang Kellen in the neutral. Something fierce.
Okay.
I think that DPS line's way more well put together at the moment. And then we don't have to talk about the backline and the way the Justice... Yeah, unfortunately, the Justice was just a better team. It's stage 1. They continue to be a better team on paper for me, considering like I had to reevaluate how good Callan is. At least, you know, playing in this team.
Sure.
I'm going 3-1 Justice.
Ditto. A lot of the same reasons. I think Mag's going to break out the Rhine. I think they have shown, you know, again, we look at last season, you know, the woeful team, the budget Dallas Fuel. Some of these players do have a lot of experience playing what comps we've kind of pre-established as, you know, meta favored. So yeah, I think Justice have a leg up here. I don't really expect New York to get it together.
Man.
They're kind of dunzo, garbanzo. See you later next season. Try better. I don't know. Sucks. Washington wins.
I so badly want to find a way to go for New York. Yeah, I really do. But I just can't.
Yeah.
Like, I don't think Washington are a reliable team.
Nope.
But they should still just outskill New York for the most part. Because you're right. It's Mag versus miniature Mag. You know, Krillin is mini Mag at the end of the day. And I'd rather just take the real Mag.
Yeah.
Fuck. Yeah, and Decay is a factor. Happy is a factor.
Assassin apparently is a factor too.
Yeah, I take all 3 of them over Floriaki.
Yep.
Even the backline is not. It's pretty reasonable. Like Krillin opener have been fine. They've been good. At least they have a real main support. Yeah, I don't know. I think I have to. I have to go for Justice. I think the problem is, man, this hurts because I know there's a chance that Justice can throw this game.
Oh, for sure.
But in my mind, the reason I still go for Justice is because they should be still so much better than New York that even if they are playing poorly, Justice in theory should still win. So I'm gonna go 3-2 Justice. I don't think Justice do this cleanly at all, but they do win.
Sure.
Toronto, London. Ooh.
Anybody have
baby.
any initial thoughts?
London plays Rhine. What did Toronto do? Let me think about this. What do Toronto do if London plays Rhine?
Poorly.
Hell no, they don't.
They play Doomfist poorly.
Who plays the Doomfist on this team? Muse?
Muse.
They did just lose KDG. Does that upgrade the team or downgrade the team?
I've always been of the mind that internal strife is never a good thing initially. I think you can grow out of it, but
if the strife causes Finale and Muse to be upset, and now Finale and Muse are no longer upset, does that improve the team?
Possibly. With this meta, though, I don't know. He thinks not. He thinks London opens the week 2-0.
Charong Briggs are really fucking good. Could they play Briggs in with Finale? And are they even going to play Finale? They keep playing Although, and I think Finale's better. This should not be as hard as it is for me to decide. Does Yiska have anything while I'm still thinking?
I mean, the sort of dynamic of like a team that might be unshackled from a passive play style is not to be underestimated. I feel like Toronto has a power play here. So, Yeah, unfortunately, I have to say this is a 3-1 Toronto.
Interesting. Yeah.
I want to go for London. I feel like I want to go for London.
Yeah, I do not trust
it's
this
like-
front line.
Who's front line?
Toronto's.
You don't?
I think
You
we've
don't think
seen
Muse is-
Muse on Winston be, exemplary. I think that you can't take that away from him. I didn't really care for his Reinhardt. I
We're
don't
not
really
changing
care to
map
see
pools, are
Hotba.
we? We're not changing
I-
map pools, correct?
Couldn't tell you, to be honest. I would have guessed not. Would be my guess.
I haven't seen an announcement for it, so I assume we're not changing map pools.
I think you see some hot Sigma, and outside of that, it's a little rough.
Oh
It's a little
man,
rough.
no, I think London have more to work with here. I don't trust Toronto's dive to be good enough. Oh no. Oh, why is it hard? Why is it hard? I'm gonna take a risk. London 3-1. This is gonna be a risky pick for me. This is gonna be my risky pick of the week.
I promise I don't hate you, London. I just think you know what
No,
it's
you
like
do.
to be unchecked.
Shut up. You think they're not beautiful, and you think they're weird when they talk to you at Starbucks. Shut up. Next game.
Joe, here's the problem though, is if someone is attractive enough, you won't care if they're weird or not. Like it overrides the weirdness, right?
True.
So you could be like genuinely creepy and say like some really fucking creepy things, but if you're just so fucking attractive, it actually doesn't matter. That's the truth of the world. Anyway, got him, Joe. Told you.
Dang, crazy. Shucks. So how about this Boston game? Isn't that crazy? We have a map, some matches. Weird. I think Boston loses. Next.
But by how much?
I have this Atlanta 3-1. I give
You're
them a map.
you're still going to give them a map. You haven't done any 3-2s or 3-0s. You've just gone 3-1 the whole time.
London 3-2 over Mayhem, 3-1,
Okay.
3-1, 3-2 over Toronto. I don't
Okay.
know. Yeah. Weird.
Right.
That's so
I lied,
very
but
socially awkward.
You
of you.
haven't done three.
I know it's
You still haven't done
bizarre.
3-0s. You still haven't done any 3-0s.
We're getting there. Don't worry.
Can I change your mind to give this one a 3-0?
Present your case.
Atlanta are just going to beat Boston, so 3-0 to me, please.
Sounds good. I'm gonna stick with mine.
Yeah, I think Atlanta are more flexible across the board
Good.
on everything. And OG UV can actually do BAP Zen together as well. And Hawk being a starter is really good here because he doesn't have the Ryan, but he naturally has Sigma Doom, which is pretty reasonable for this meta. Okay. Yiska?
3-0 Atlanta. They're on a roll now. It's over. They're back to it.
3-0 Atlanta?
Yeah.
I also think, like, again, Kai, I thought was, in my opinion, the best surgeon that I saw early on. He might not be anymore. Other players might have caught up or overtaken him, but I believe in the Kai surgeon. I believe that Atlanta go in that direction. He's going to be a monster. So.
I would say initially, at least, there wasn't that much Sojourn yet. So we'll see how that develops, but I could definitely...
Yeah. You're talking about this patch, yeah?
Yes.
Obviously. Okay.
Yeah,
Vancouver Gladiators. DPay versus Face. 3-0 Gladiators. I'm sorry, there's just nothing Vancouver can really do here.
Yeah.
Yeah. This is where initially I was, giving DePay maybe the benefit of the doubt, but talking through more of the meta, I still don't think any kind of like weird or creative.
I don't care
compositions are gonna
what
sneak
meta it is. I don't see how Vancouver beat Gladiators in any meta.
Yeah. No, they
You
definitely
can
don't
name-
win.
You can
Definitely
name
don't win.
any 5 heroes off the Overwatch roster for me, and I don't think there's a meta that there's not a combination of 5 heroes that Vancouver can play that you could say that this is the meta that Gladiators would be worse than Vancouver on.
Right.
I don't think there is.
Yep.
So, yeah.
3-0 for me.
Did Vancouver announce any new players?
Nope.
Was there a rumor of another tank coming in, or am I?
That was
Mike
preseason.
Cannon.
Yeah, Mirror, right?
Yeah.
Jesus Christ. Okay.
Wouldn't be shocked. Wouldn't be shocked.
You is anyone not going 3-0, lads? No? Everyone 3-0? Cool. Houston, Washington. Could be an interesting game.
Yeah. Yeah, this one's tough. It really comes down to how applicable the Doomfist is. I do agree that on select
Really?
points, it should be a
Pigma-
little bit better than
Pigma double
Rhine.
flick support? Pigma double
Yeah,
flick
I don't
support?
think that's going to be as run as much personally. Not as big of a fan of the double flex most of the time, especially
Okay.
with one less tank. Escort, I see it a lot personally. But yeah, I'm gonna say this is Justice. I feel like they have a better, not read. I think that's wrong to say, but I think they start with the ideal comp this early on in the meta. I think that they're going to be running Rhine. I think it's going to be very straightforward. I think Houston has a lot of burden of proof to kind of like outskill them or out coordinate them in a lot of ways, which is possible, certainly possible. I think this one is a little bit more narrow than some of these other games, but I have this going Justice. This way 3-1.
Ouch, bro.
Breaking news. No.
Oof. He really keeps losing the gulags, doesn't he?
What do we do? What are we doing here, guys?
I mean, just
So-
read it.
Advise me. Someone advise me of what we're doing here.
It's difficult because this is breaking, but apparently Adam has just tweeted in response to the Florida Mayhem's announcement, quote, his words, not mine. You guys didn't have the respect to drop me in person, and now you're trying to hide it without an actual announcement. Come on, ellipses, end quote. Take from that.
To be
what you
honest,
will.
though, Joe, that could not be your quote anyway, because it would be weird for you to say you guys dropped me. I'm like, did you get dropped from the Florida Mayhem, Joe? I don't know.
Just, scrubbing any kind of remote doubt from the absolute brainlets that are in Reddit and or YouTube comment section.
Paraphrase Adam from Oz. Wow. Fuck you, Florida. In paraphrase. That about do it? That about right?
Yeah, great job.
Doesn't seem amicable, is what we'll say. It does not seem like an amicable split. But the good news is there's not going to be a week-long court trial that all the Twitch streamers
True.
are going to stream over this. So,
True.
that's the only good thing we're going to
Be
get.
nice.
Yeah.
Justice Houston. Anybody else have any takes on this?
I actually want to go Houston here.
Okay. What's
I
that?
really
You're
do.
allowed to. You're valid and beautiful.
Because
If you talk to me at a GameStop, I wouldn't think it's awkward.
we know each other.
There you go.
That's part of it.
If we both found each other at a GameStop, either we both agreed to be there to meet up for some. I don't know why we're meeting at a GameStop.
Yeah.
Or I don't know. We're somehow both in the same locale. And we both decide to go to a GameStop again.
Mhm.
Don't know why either of us are at a GameStop.
Right.
True.
But
But talking to someone you don't know in a GameStop is socially awkward, right? Just say yes.
Dang.
So we
isn't
we
Jake
ran-
crazy?
we randomly met
Oh,
each other. We
be
randomly met each
weird.
other in a Blockbuster.
Yeah.
That wouldn't be awkward. I'd be, hey, which DVD? Sorry, which VHS are you renting out?
Mm-hmm.
As I go Houston because I think this is the game where if Washington are falling apart, they get exposed here. I don't think New York are good enough to expose them, but I think Houston are legitimately.
Okay.
I'm going very meta here. I'm not talking about the Overwatch meta. I'm talking about I'm talking about Washington being a super unreliable team. and that this is the exact type of game on their calendar that could just screw them. Because I think Doom Dive with Briggs in could be really good here. Mag probably won't play the Ryan into that, will he? And if he does, it can be counterable. Pigma double flex is perfect for Houston. It's like 3 out of 5 of their players on like their best positions and best roles, best heroes. And Pelican can just do anything. I think Pelican's the best player in that server. 10 players, Pelican's the number 1 player there, 100%.
Sure.
Shit, yeah, fuck. I do just want to. Maybe I'm getting baited by Houston, but I think Doom's a good hero, potentially a good hero in the next meta for a dive. And I think Sigma's a good hero. I'm doing it. I just don't trust Washington enough. I don't. Like Custer says, it's just hard to trust them. No, I'm gonna go Houston 3-2 because not every map will be good for Doom and Sigma. So Houston 3-2.
Yiska.
Yeah, I don't think there's too much fight in me. If Sigma is sorta playable, then this is just about one of the only matters where I like. If I hear Doom and Sigma is playable, I'm like, boy, that sounds like Houston to me. So yeah, I think I'm going 3-1 Houston here.
All right. Any objections with the Glad's Paris? Feel like it's pretty clean.
No, that's Mr. Clean, yeah.
Mr. Clean. Mr. Proper for all the German listeners. AVRL, any thoughts on Glad's Eternal?
Man, I feel bad for Paris.
Yeah, it's a tough one. It's not an easy one.
0-6 team, when are they going to get their win? Not going to be this game.
Yeah.
Nope. No, I can't do it. Is there a map that Glads just randomly lose? I think Glads are a consistently good enough team now that's not going to happen. So no, 3-0.
Now this one could be a little bit more interesting. Rain Fuel. We see the honorable Ryan duel between Fearless and Gator, or do we see a little bit more Hawk with the Sigma and the Doom? I say Fuel. What do you guys think?
I say Fuel. You say Dallas. Fuel, Dallas. Fuel, Dallas. That's the name of the team, right?
Fuel
the evil
Dallas.
name.
Yeah, I think Dallas covers more ground. I like Atlanta, but I think do I? Hang on. But Sojan's probably not being played as much yet. Fuck no. Yeah, no. I think the one area Atlanta would have an advantage over Dallas is Kai. But what does Kai play in this meta?
That is.
If he's not playing a soldier, what is he playing? Is he playing Sim with Ryan?
Could be.
Gator Ryan? Is he doing Sim Gator Ryan? Is he doing Reaper? No, that's Nero's hero. So what the hell is Kai got to play?
Do we assume that Nero's May? Any chance for that?
Then what does Kai play? Cassidy?
Reaper, Cassidy,
Sojourn.
Maybe Sojourn. Yeah.
If he does play Sojourn, I think he's going to be really good.
Sure.
I call me crazy, but okay, Edison's Reaper's really good, but what? I still don't know if he's what the other picks. Is Reaper the only thing he can play? I don't know. Like I don't know what Edison's other picks looks like right now.
Sure.
Guerrero has been reasonable on the Widowmaker, but I think he's still young, has some confidence issues. I'm not too sure. Like, I mean, I think he has the capability to maybe outplay Kai, but did they play against each other? They did, didn't they? In kickoff?
Yeah, I believe so. Sure. Double check.
Did he beat Kai? Am I forgetting? I'm forgetting, aren't I? Yeah, he did. They played Circuit. They must have played each other. I should go Dallas here, but I'm trying to find a reason to go Atlanta. I should go Dallas here, but I'm trying to find a reason. Is there a reason for me to
if
go
you
there?
think that Sojourn is a little bit more viable than maybe people are letting on, maybe if you think UV can, UV and OG can double flex it up a little bit where Dallas is going to struggle, could be.
Is it crazy that on an individual level, I kind of want to go for Atlanta, except the tank line I think is stronger in Dallas. The tank line for sure is stronger in Dallas.
Yeah, I don't think it's.
But the
too
other
loud.
positions are a lot more even.
Again, this is day 3 of an opening meta. These predictions are subject to change. It's just kind of sussing out the possibility of where the game could be headed. Yiska, any thoughts?
I think I'll just go down. I think I'll for safety. This is one I'll get wrong for sure. Dallas 3-1. Fuck.
Yeah, I'm going the same, but with considerably less of a bad feel. And then if it doesn't happen, that's fine too. I think.
I like your Bob Ross approach. It's a happy little
Yiska just described. What Yiska just described is he's about to walk up to somebody in a GameStop and he's thinking, "Look, I could either talk to this random stranger at GameStop and it's going to be a great conversation, or it won't be, and they don't want to talk to me, and I won't think too much of it because I didn't have any expectations."
Isn't that wild? Isn't that crazy? Weird that. Anywho, Yiska, continue.
I would shoot that person because I think I'm getting robbed.
You spot the weirdo.
Sorry,
I don't know.
do you either open or closed carry a gun to GameStop? What are you doing?
I mean, both open carrying in anticipation of being flirted with, and open carrying in anticipation of getting robbed.
Protecting that virginity. Keep it high and tight, my friend.
It's grown back several times now.
All right, so it doesn't sound like there's too much to say.
I'm an
Atlanta.
Overwatch fan,
Yes, we know. We know. You've been here for a while. Yeah.
Toronto, Florida.
Yes. Any takers for Toronto? Because I feel like this is a Florida in a pretty clean fashion. This is double points too, so keep in mind.
No, I don't know that this is clean. I don't know that this is clean.
Okay. What do you think? How do you think? Where does it go?
Oh, AVRL is thinking hard again.
I'm tempted to go Toronto.
Why is that?
I'm thinking really hard about what my opening line is when I walk up to the stranger in GameStop. Do I just go with a casual hello, or is that just too casual? That sounds like I'm hiding something. Or do I just tell them what I want straight off the bat? That's very honest, but it might be a little bit too aggressive. So how am I going to really think about this one? I want to go Toronto, but I should follow my instinct. Toronto 3-2. I think it'll be a close game. I'm going to follow my instinct here. No, I actually do think with Moby Dick at the helm, Charong Twilight still being monstrous, Muse's dive is good. The DPS line is the big problem for me. They have to nail who's playing what. And actually, if they do something like an Ortho Tracer, maybe Finale Genji dive, it could work. And I want to trust that Moby Dick will make the right calls. It's a risky pick, but my gut feeling says 3-2 Toronto.
Yeah, I ride the high of this situation. I believe teams that had previous struggles making a significant change very often find themselves quickly. I think that might happen again here. I already was pretty high on Toronto then. I think this is actually going to be a great match because reasonably from what we've seen, you should go Florida. Add the helium or the gas that Toronto has gotten here. 3-2 Toronto.
Yeah, we're on the same page. We'll get back to Joe when he returns from babysitting.
True. Let's go for next.
Big true. Big true. Boston shock. Oh, is there any way Boston does anything here, or is this a 3-0? I'm just going to go 3-0 shock. No, actually, I lie. I'll go 3-1 Boston. I think Boston are not entirely a team that will be out of contention. But I think this should be a shock win. Actually, you know what? I think Boston go up 2 and then shock reverse sweep. Shock 3-2.
Why are you so evil? I mean, you sound like someone who would see someone stand at a subway with like a...
Oh, change locales now. We're out of the GameStop. We're now into a subway. Go on.
And that person has like a game convention paraphernalia on, like a ticket or whatever. and you'd go like, that person likes games. Let me talk to him and connect while not being socially awkward. That's truly evil. Just let me eat my Subway sandwich, you know? It's...
Sorry, am I walking up to somebody in the queue or somebody that's
queue.
sitting down at a table eating?
In the queue.
So the let me eat my Subway sandwich doesn't quite work. That logic doesn't apply because you don't have a sandwich
I
yet.
mean, I have to go through the logistics of what my taste buds require in that moment when I'm about to order, right? Like, it's not a non-trivial task. If I'm ordering a Subway sandwich, I'm kind of stressed out.
I think my line would be, are you interested in my footlong? Sorry, are you interested in a footlong?
Is it me?
I quite like the meatballs.
Is it me or like, you know how a bunch of like business models have now been like the maximum customization of like food or drink choices, right? So you like, I'm standing in Starbucks and I just go, please put everything on my sub. I'd like Italian bread grilled. What sauce?
Grilled.
Oh, Chipotle. And then that's it. But also, when I'm in Starbucks and I'm driving up to, you know, the drive-thru, I'm sweating, dude. I'm like, oh my God, what was it called, man? There's 2 beverages. The other person I'm with told me what I should order. I forgot. Fuck. And then it's like, you can't even say big or medium. You have to memorize the name of venti.
It's called venti.
Then you go
Grande.
like, and then, you know, a good 25% of the time I actually don't get the order that I specifically ordered because the person on the other side of the telephone also doesn't know what it means, and everyone suffers. You know, like the high customization is not
unlike the other example we talked to strangers. This one's a required conversation because you must converse with the person on the other side.
Doesn't it suck? Doesn't it suck? That's why, like, when I go to McDonald's, for instance, I either order via my phone or order at the counter. I don't want to talk to a person. They make errors. I don't.
I don't want to talk to a person unless they're wearing gaming paraphernalia.
No, not even then. Okay, here's the correct way to socially engage with other people. Okay, you ready for this? You are already in your social group, and someone brings a new person in with their prior social approval, therefore limiting the amount of horniness or danger emitting from them. And then you can engage with that person. Another way to socially engage with a person is to build comfort within by showing up at the same location several times in order to familiarize. Like, just no, you like, you know, I wouldn't talk to my kebab guy the first time, but if I am there the 4th time, I'm starting a little chat because that person has gotten my business very often and it's nice, you know. Or if I'm at a barber shop, I won't chat with a woman cutting my hair if I have cut my hair the first time. At the 3rd time, I'm warming up. I'm getting social. We're both developing a little rapport. I remember she told me about her kid having it during COVID. Her name is blah, blah, blah. I do all the checks and balances before I walk in. I specifically request her. I've built a relationship there. I didn't annoy anyone. I slowly turned up the temperature, you know? Like a good Northern European would.
Sorry, how many maps are you giving to Boston again?
0.
So 3-0, got you.
Yep.
Paris, New York.
Yep.
I so badly want to give Paris this. Can I give Paris this game? God, I so badly want to give Paris this game.
Why do you hate New York, man?
I don't. I'm trying to. I will probably give this game to New York, but I'm trying to look at the opposite position to see if there's a way I can give it to the other team. My default position is that I will give this to New York.
Mm-hmm.
But I have to battle against myself. Which, if you think about it, is a very meta commentary to make, because, you know, fighting my own demons and whatnot. But
yes,
to find out if there's a way to find out if there's a way to do this. The Las Vegas Eternal versus New York Excelsior. Let me think about this. Man. This is a very winnable game for Paris. Let it be clear, this is a super winnable game for Paris.
Mm-hmm.
And I think for the storylines,
He's narrative picking.
I'm narrative picking now. I've exited all logic and analysis, and I've entered the Disney anime zone.
Come on.
The dreaded Disney anime zone.
Do you have a take?
Oh my god. New York is going to win this, aren't they?
Someone's just currently washing their dishes, going like, "Come on, man, just give
Is
me
Glister... Well, why don't you give them an answer then? What's your answer?
3-1 New York."
Fuck. Can Glister carry this team? Can Glister do it? What can Glister play? What can Glister do?
Yeah, what's the?
I gotta get this answer
Yes,
before the
concur.
last dish is has been washed.
Mm-hmm.
Someone's reaching for their clothing pegs right now, hanging up their washing.
Mm-hmm.
No, you're right. This is going New York, isn't it? Shit, you're right. No, this is definitely going New York. Damn it.
Yeah.
It's gonna go 3-2 New York as well, just to break Paris's hearts.
Yep. Unfortunately, true. Next. Okay, I'll give you the
I got
speedrun
a
version.
prediction.
Okay.
I think Joe goes Paris.
Oh yeah, he's the type of person to do that, right? That's exactly the type of person you don't want to meet in a GameStop.
Vancouver,
Smelly
Houston.
opinions. I mean, this would be a miracle, bro. Nah, this is Houston. No. Do you give them a map though?
I think I would. I think I'll give this 3-1 Houston.
Okay, then I'm going 3-0.
All right. You're probably right. You're probably more likely to be right. But we've seen Vancouver get a map off a shock. It's not impossible.
Yeah.
I think like Vancouver are not a very good team, but they're not so disastrous that they can't even pick up maps.
Yeah.
Is my position.
No, I don't think they're that bad. I think it's just not. I think they've been practicing under deep 9 days.
1, 2, 3.
From New York
I'm just
to
counting the
Germany.
matches. Sorry, I wasn't counting the days. I was counting the matches.
Right.
What
I was quoting a banger from the 90s.
All right, where are we at? What are we doing?
was the last
You got a
team
speed
you
run.
remember printing? What was the last team you remember printing? Because I don't know where you were.
Like three
Again, my head's
matches ago. Oh, really? Can you not hear us now?
What's up?
Can you not hear us?
What was the last match?
No, I can hear you. I can hear you.
Okay.
What's the last match you remember doing?
I think we're on Florida, Toronto, I believe.
Okay, Florida, Toronto.
Yeah.
Yiska and I have finished now, so you just go.
Give us
Poggers. All right. Florida wins 3-1. I don't trust Toronto as far as I can throw them. That could change after the London game. We'll see.
Okay, both Yiska and I went Toronto, just by the way. Anyway, continue.
Sick. Awesome. I think Chalk wipes up Boston. It's not close. I'm going to say 3-0. Paris, New York's a little bit messy, but I'm going to give this to Paris.
Oh!
Whatever reason why.
Dude,
and then I'm going to go Houston 3-0.
that's
Save and run it there.
that's
How
the work of a social overlord. You read you like a
Dude,
book.
how did I know, dude? How did I know? So perfect. So fucking perfect.
Joe loves Paris. He's loved Paris ever since season 2.
True.
This is why it wouldn't be awkward if I walked up somewhere in a GameStop, because I'm a social warlord. I just know. I know
Yeah.
people.
I mean,
They're huge brain.
Actual social
if I
warlord.
was that much of an empath, I would also fear no man.
Oh god.
All right. So looks like we're
Is that
done.
it?
Any final comments?
Was that all the
Ran it for
games?
a little bit now.
It
to be
was,
fair.
right?
Huh? What is it? Sorry, what?
Just Yeah. Anything else? Anything we
My
want to
final comment is I don't know why people are meeting at GameStops. Is GameStop relevant? No, seriously,
not
is
really.
GameStop relevant?
Not personally, but somehow we keep bringing it up. So here
Why
we are.
would people
just
buy
like the
GameStop
stock.
stocks? By the way,
That's a good question. I genuinely don't know.
Are they a relevant company?
don't get the whole
Because boxed games should be
I think
dying. It should be a dying
Yeah,
industry.
the argument was that there were like an unreasonable amount of shorts on that company when the physical copies sale was still at 40% of all video games were sold physically, I think, at the time. And they, like GameStop, still had like a large amount of brick and mortar stores tossed around the US and really globally. Like we have one or two here in the city as well. And they like there was this one dude on Reddit that just like went hard on it and made the prediction like that they just shorted the stock to a point where you could just extract more value because it was probably underrated. And then it also by the boost of like private investors coming together, it therefore made for a good business.
I have one more thing to say, and that is that this conversation has gotten too awkward for me. I finally have my Subway in my hand, and I'm no longer interested in this conversation. I just want to eat my Subway alone now.
It is crazy that like it's getting chroma key filtered.
Yeah,
right. It's amazing.
It's an invisible Subway. What can I say? It's an invisible Subway. All right, guys, that is Technical Crush 239. 240 will be coming also this week. Very special episode. We'll be talking about Overwatch 2 announcements when the actual live stream hits. Not our live stream, the Overwatch live stream in terms of their info, and we get to talk about their info. So we're going to delay that episode and have a special recording for that one coming through this weekend. So stay tuned. Thanks for hanging out. We'll see you next time.
Adios.
At a GameStop. We'll see you at a GameStop next time.